Hey, hey, happy Halloween and welcome back to I love that I got a genuine reaction out of you. Oh, that was all worth it. All right, that's the show tonight, everybody.
What the fuck?
Oh, that was amazing. I'm so glad you did not get to see me put these on as we were counting down. Welcome back, everybody. All right, I'll take these off.
This is so stupid.
Oh, that was great. Hello, happy Halloween. Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back to the Disconnected. I am Ryan, and with me for the first time on any Reconnected, Krit from KritPick Productions.
Oh my god,
Welcome,
it's me.
sir.
Hello.
Oh, that was incredible. I that is going to be a moment that will live in infamy, and that was the very first Reconnected for Krit. That's amazing.
So stupid.
Oh, that was great. So first off, how you been? This is the first time. How do you feel about doing a live one of these?
Good. I think I'm super tired. For anyone that doesn't know, it's 1:30 in the morning. I woke up especially for this. I've booked the day off work so I can just crash after this is done.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel good. I think.
For those that have not seen it, I had Krit on here for a pre-record. A few months back now. We spent a long time talking about all of the M. Night Shyamalan films right before Trap came out to discuss our favorites, to rank them, and to make everybody feel that we are idiots for really enjoying his films. And it was a damn good time. But the big thing is, if you've never checked out Krit's channel, link in the description below. Please go check it out. He does amazing visual essays and film analysis that everybody should have on their watch list. It is great stuff. And I genuinely am honored to have you here tonight. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. I feel really honored. I still love M. Night Shyamalan. No one can deter me. And honestly, I love him more since seeing Trap. I have seen Trap, I think 3 times now.
Wow.
And I will see it one more time before the end of the year. So it's absolutely fantastic.
Funny enough, this is what I was going to try to start our episode with. For those that have seen it, and we had our long conversation on Shyamalan, I would love to hear your overall thoughts, other than I've seen it 3 times. What do you think of the movie? Obviously, we'll stay away from spoilers since it's brand new for people.
Of course. To be fair, actually, there's not that many
No, it's in the trailer.
You can really get to. Yeah, everything's really straightforward. There's not really a twist, I don't think, too much.
No.
Overall, I do genuinely think it's one of Shyamalan's best movies. I think it's easily his best movie that's also accessible. You know, if you want to watch The Sixth Sense or Unbreakable or any of the big classics like Signs, they're great movies and I can watch them anytime. But for a lot of people, it's like they're like heavy movies. Yep. You know, like you need to prepare to see The Sixth Sense. You're like, okay, I'm going to watch that tonight. But Trap is something you can just put on.
Yeah,
like it is just so insanely watchable, and everyone is giving an insanely fun performance, especially Hartnett, who pulls just something so particularly special out of the bag for that movie. You know, like even after the movie is done, I kind of like him. You know, he's like, there's just something super, super entertaining about his whole thing. The music from Lady Raven, I have half of it saved in my actual playlist. Save Me is an absolute bop. It's a banger. I think it's some of M. Night's best cinematography, in the way that when people talk about cinematography, what they think about is just shot composition
or colors, which is weird.
Me and Zach have had this conversation a million times that like cinematography is just a lot more than what people think it is, and it's how you tell the story through the camera. You know, how you evoke the emotion of a character or the mindset or the thought of a scene and this whole thing. And I think M. Night Shyamalan in Trap does that perfectly. I think because the character himself doesn't really get to say what he's doing at any point, quite obviously, because who's he going to tell?
Right.
So you just kind of need to know from visual language exactly what he's thinking at all times. And I think Shyamalan executes that so effortlessly that you don't even notice he's doing it. You know, it's something so foundational that we just don't consider it important. And I think he's brilliant at it. Good use of red. It's a very red movie, very gorgeous. There's a couple split diopter shots. They're my favorite shots. Every time a movie has a split diopter, he gets an extra point. Yeah, I think it's just a great movie. Very fun time.
I agree. I saw this in LA with a group of, oh gosh, 9, I think, or 9 or 10 people. And out of all 9 or 10 of us, I was literally the only one that exited the theater smiling and said, "Man, that was a lot of fun." Everybody else was like, "What a waste of fucking money." And I'm like, "What? That was so much fun."
I don't understand what people want. Do you know what I mean? Like he made Knock at the Cabin, and it was too much for people. It was too convoluted. There was too much going. So he made Trap, which is just an accessible, easy
Right.
movie, and people are like, "Nah, what do you want?"
Yeah. I do want a special shout out. Hartnett, I think, is so much more sinister than he is getting credit for. The way that he can flip emotions and motivations seemingly on a
Yeah.
dime in this film is so well conceived. And obviously it's most of that is performance, but a lot of it is just pretty decent writing on what he's going to do. And you know, when you're I mean, obviously we all go into this and you've seen the trailer, so you're expecting the pretty much the entire movie to happen in this arena. And what happens in the arena is like beyond you know, manipulative and scary and just overwhelmingly intimidating for this guy. And then the rest of it's just like bonus. And yeah, it gets a little silly, but that's Shyamalan. Like, suspend your disbelief and you'll be fine.
Do you know, people always say, like, they always point out, like, the dialogue and stuff like that and say it's not natural and stuff like, but it's like, no one has that same criticism for, like, Yorgos Lanthimos or Quentin Tarantino. No one
Right.
ever goes, the dialogue's not natural, because they're okay with it being a choice. You
Yeah.
know, but when it comes to Shyamalan, it's no longer a choice, it just must be bad. It's so odd. And also to Hartnett's credit as well, he is very sinister and he plays a very good line with his daughter, where like you do actually believe that he loves his family in
Oh
some
yeah.
like odd particular way. It's so bizarre how he toes that line between being an absolute maniac but having a sincere love for just this small group of people. And to Paul, who's asked thoughts on his cameo in it, it's one of my favorite M. Night cameos.
He does pretty good at it too.
Yeah, he does. Every time, I just love Shyamalan, so when he shows up, I get happy. Yeah.
He does well. I mean, I won't take anything away from him. He was a good time. Speaking of Paul, I'm going to go through some of these comments. A couple that I wanted to go over. First, downer one to talk about, but for those of you that knew David from over at Faces for Radio, knew that he had been facing cancer recently and suddenly passed this past Tuesday. The family started a GoFundMe to help with some of that, so please give to that if you can. You can find the information all over Instagram. I believe I shared it yesterday or maybe late the day before, not sure. But yeah, the if you go look up Faces for Radio, you'll find it. It's all over there. Hopefully David's family can find some peace quickly. Josephine, new watches: Spider Baby from '67, Enchanting Shadow, Phantom Carriage, Old Dark House, Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. I got to be honest, 2 of these, some of my favorites ever. The Old Dark House is amazing, and Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. If you have never seen Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, you need to seek that out immediately. That movie is so much freaking fun. It's such an odd Shaw Brothers Hammer mashup that everybody needs to put it on their watch list if you haven't seen it. Let's see. Everybody's hanging out. Anything else to shout out? Zach, close friend of Crit, says wants to wish Crit good luck on his first Reconnected. Amazing.
Where is this? Hello, Zach. I
Uh,
didn't see you in there.
way up earlier tonight. All right. Our first segment. For those that don't know, on this show, we always talk about physical media and film. And by the way, after our announcements tonight, we are going to be covering, it's Halloween. We got to cover something horror. So tonight, we are covering our favorite horror movies by like traditionally horror directors. We're going to do 10 of our favorites. And there's a lot of really obvious answers, but I hope I picked at least a couple that are off the wall for this. So we'll see. Get your list ready for that as we go through some of these. But our first actual discussion, physical media. What have you been picking up recently?
So I did go and grab them because I'm a professional, and the last couple of things I bought. Right, let's go through. We got 5 things. So we got 1, Bodies.
Nice. Fun movie.
Yeah, this is like in the same vein as Trap, weirdly enough, where I think it is super clever, it's super well written, super well acted, but its greatest attribute is that it's just easy. You know, like I can put on Bodies at any point and have a good time. It's just such a reliably fun movie. And it's also one of those movies where, like, if I have someone around, you know, I can put this on whether they've seen it or not, and I know it's going to land well. So, yeah, love that movie. Great movie. Then we got the Criterion for Cat People.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Never seen it. Have always wanted to. I look at clips of this all the time. It looks like one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. And it also came with a poster, which is always a bonus. I love getting a poster. Then we got The Boy and the Heron.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, this came like pretty high on my my top 250 or whatever last year.
I happen to have it right next to me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. It's one of my favorite Miyazaki's by very, very far. I think it's easily one of his most mature movies. I mean, a lot of Miyazaki movies have like mature themes, but this just felt very mature in a different way. We'll end on that. Then we have American Psycho. 1, because I was surprised I didn't already own it, and 2, because me and my girlfriend were doing this 31 Days of Halloween thing where I was showing her a horror movie every day that she hadn't seen, and she hadn't seen American Psycho, so I bought it specifically for that purpose, and she loved it.
Nice.
And finally, we have the Chucky Complete 7 movie collection, because I was going to do a video on Chucky, which I actually ended up doing, which is rare for me. And yeah, I watched every single Chucky movie, ranked them, reviewed them. It's a great series. I really love all the Child's Play movies. So yeah, that's everything that I've picked up recently.
I actually just covered Bride of Chucky on another show like last week.
Fantastic movie.
Love that movie. My stack here is going to be probably the same as a lot of you, but 3 that I am beyond excited to have. 3 that I never thought that I would be holding in my hand. And the fact that they're all 4K is insane. We've got the Criterion 4K of Gummo, which incredible cover on this.
Yeah, that was gorgeous.
Of course, you can probably guess the next one. Happiness, still wild that we got this from Criterion. And then finally, one that I don't know how I didn't do it. I was this close to buying the UK release. And right after that, we got the announcement for All of Us Strangers coming on 4K from Criterion in the US. And we just had a flash sale. And so in the last week, that's what got here. This is fantastic. Criterion kind of killing it this year with titles. I feel like they've done very well. Obviously, I wish they would step up on some of their special features again, but hey, I'll take at least good titles rather than bad titles and no features.
Plus, I'll take posters.
Yeah, that would be swell.
I do like a poster.
So recent watches. You talked about showing 31 horror movies. What have you been watching recently?
Do you know, I was talking to Zach about this recently, but I've seen I've seen just under Well, I can actually give you. I've seen 81 movies this month, so
God damn! Somebody, Brendan was just saying he saw 65 this month, and I thought that was impressive. 81
yeah,
is crazy.
81 movies. So it's like to say what have I recently seen is a bit of a difficult thing to decipher, but
Let's highlight a handful then.
yeah, we'll go with like very recently. I rewatched The Craft,
Good
which is
movie.
one of my favorite horror movies ever. Just absolutely beautiful. I'm like such a simp for that like mid to late 90s, early 2000s like horror.
Yep.
I really love all of that stuff. Everything that was pretty much inspired by Scream. The Craft wasn't, it was like slightly, but it was the same year as Scream, but it came out a couple months before. But yeah, just that whole era was absolutely just there's something tangible about it, you know, and I
I
really
agree.
like that. Um, Halloween Kills because we finished the month off with the Gordon Green Halloween trilogy. Halloween Kills is one of the best slashers of the 2020s. It is absolutely incredible. When I first watched these a year ago, I knew that people didn't really like Halloween Kills,
Right.
but I didn't know why. So that was allowing me to just go in unjudged and figure out. And I really enjoyed it. And then I had to ask Zach and then research like why people didn't like it. And when I was reading why people didn't like it, I was like, this is stupid. This is so dumb. Like people are like saying it's over the top. It's a slasher movie. What are you talking? What
A
are you
slasher movie
talking
for a
about?
character that's been alive since 1978 and killing since then.
The movie's called Halloween Kills. And you're surprised that he killed on Halloween? And then there's like a whole commentary on like there's an escaped mental patient storyline in that movie, and people thought it was unnecessary. And it's like the backbone of the trilogy. It's like the entire point. But
Yep.
whatever. I digress. Yesterday I watched Deadly Friend.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I absolutely adore Deadly Friend. Absolutely, like I love Wes Craven so much. He's probably my favorite director, just behind Shyamalan, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be like Shyamalan, Wes Craven, and then maybe Sam Raimi. I love Wes
That's a
Craven. And
good top
Deadly
three.
Friend is such a banger. It has my favorite horror kill with the basketball and the head explosion. Yes, yeah, Deadly Friend is the one with the basketball. Just phenomenal movie. And then also yesterday I watched back to back A Nightmare on Elm Street, perfect movie, and The Silence of the Lambs, a perfect
Ooh.
movie. Yeah, I was actually saying to Zach about Silence of the Lambs. It's one of those movies that you hear about so often about being perfect. It's a perfect movie. It was the last movie to win the Big Five at the Oscars, and all you ever hear about that movie is how flawless it is. So it's easy to just kind of dismiss it in your head as like,
Yep.
yeah, Silence of the Lambs, perfect movie. And then you watch and you're like, man, every shot in this movie is perfect. Like
Yep.
it's insane how good it is. It's ridiculous.
That and the two leads. Well, I mean, Jodie Foster is obviously incredible, but the fact that Anthony Hopkins is so effective in so little screen time
Hmm.
is amazing.
I will say that though, like, because obviously the takeaway from that a lot for most people anyway is Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, but the fact that Jodie Foster shares the screen with him pretty much every single time he's on screen
Yep.
and handles her own. It's not like she's getting outperformed at every moment. She's right there with him in every bit of dialogue. It's super impressive.
It's a big deal. Mine for this week, I'm this was a weird week, but I am going to shout out all three that I can talk about. The first one showed my wife for the first time ever. I've got the slipcover here. The Crow. Uh,
Nice. The
we
real
watched
one.
that. Yeah, we watched that with my mom on Monday night. And what's going on, Bob? Nice to see you here. She she was all in. Like obviously, The Crow just oozes style the entire time,
Hmm.
and it's so much fun. But I mean, the movie is really great. It's if you have not seen The Crow in a long time, highly recommend you revisit it. It seems I don't know. So many people look at it as cheesy because of what it birthed, but it's not. Like, everything about it is so much fun to just kind of let yourself go and just hang out for an hour and a half and just live in that world. And not to mention all of the character actors in that movie. It is so crazy how many people are in that movie and then make so
Mhm.
many of your favorite movies for the next 20 years. It's wild.
Anybody that's afraid of a little camp, a little cheese, go home, look at a wall, think about yourself for a minute.
The other one for our Discord, if you are interested, I've got a Patreon you can find in the description below. We do a monthly watch along every month, and this time was a bit of an experiment. I did not reveal a movie until we were going into the movie, and I showed the one and only Claire Denis' Trouble Every Day with Vincent Gallo. And it did not land for most people, I will say that.
I was like, that's a choice. Like, I would get it if this was like once a week, but once a month.
Yeah, it was a choice. The hard part, I had never seen it. It was my first watch. So if I had known what we were getting ourselves into, I probably would not have chosen Trouble Every Day. But I'm glad to have seen it. Claire Denis is great at directing, obviously, and really, really great choices. I don't love Vincent Gallo. Obviously, I don't think many people do, but the story was interesting. I think it could have been a little bit better, but watching as a group for your first watch, probably not the best choice, I will say.
No.
Speaking of weird things to watch in a group, I also watched for the first time Short Bus. That movie is intense. If you have never seen it, you should watch it. There's so much great to find in Short Bus. It is pretty much everything except for maybe a couple bits of acting falls a little flat, but everything else is like great. Really like the stories, really like the fact that they chose to go there. If you've never seen Short Bus, it has this reputation for being really full of explicit sex and discussing things that are incredibly taboo. And I think that's the best thing about it, is it treats so many things just as if they're a normal part of life. And that's what movies should do for a lot of people, is show you the different things that are out there, that they exist, and allow you to have empathy for everybody. And the stories in Short Bus, at the end of the day, is about empathy. It's about you feeling, for someone else's experience, and it's great. Really, really enjoyed what I saw there.
I haven't seen Short Bus, but I know that's the movie with Peter Stickles in it. He's in Evil Bong 3, and that's all I have to contribute to this conversation.
Evil Bong 3. What a touch point. Sibner says you sound like Andrew Garfield. Is that a compliment or an insult?
Well, it's complicated because I don't think I do. I'm just British, but we're from very different places. So to me, we sound very, very dissimilar, but I'll take it. It would have been nicer if they said I look like him, but
yeah,
I'll take what I can get,
All right, so as usual, we're gonna be having a film discussion after our announcements, but we do have a little bit more than last week to cover. Last week was a shockingly short week of announcements. This week is a little more average. It's still slightly below average, but we got some to cover.
You
Have you
fucking
been
with me?
paying attention, eager to talk about them?
Yeah, I've been paying attention. A little less than average is a bit mean, I would say.
What's crazy is before these last 2 weeks, we were averaging about 65 or 70 announcements a week for a while.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Consider me lucky then.
Next week, we are probably going to have like 85, I'm guessing.
Wait, hold the press. Someone just said I look better than Garfield. Now, I love a lie as long as it makes me feel good. So, thank you.
Oh, man. All right, let's get into our announcements. First one, very exciting, I think. December 31st, out of the UK, Treasured Films is releasing King of the Ants on Blu-ray. This is Stuart Gordon's King of the Ants from 2003. This says Sean, a young house painter, has no direction or attachments in his life when Duke, an acquaintance, hires him to spy on and then kill a man who threatens the shady business dealings that Duke and his employer Matthews are engaged in. Sean agrees, but for a price. After haphazardly carrying out the gruesome task, Duke and Matthews renege on paying Sean his blood money, and so begins a game of cat and mouse between killers and hitman. Who will go further to be king, the immoral or the amoral? Treasured Films. Had you seen anything from them before? Checked out any of their titles?
I don't think so. I didn't recognize the label until I saw this, so I don't think so. No.
This is only, gosh, their 8th title announcement or something like that.
Okay.
So they're still fairly fresh. They've been putting stuff out for about 2.5 years, but they've really only been picking up in the last few months here. But their limited edition is what this is going to be. It's got a double-walled slipcase with new artwork, an illustrated booklet with new writing by Michael Doyle and Graham Skipper. For those that don't know, Graham Skipper, he's been in a bunch of movies you've probably seen, but also he was very close to Stuart Gordon, so I'm glad they got him on this. If you get it from the website, you get the Ant Queen magnet that they have and a poster, and then special features, new commentary with Nathaniel Thompson and Troy Howarth. We got an archival commentary with Stuart Gordon, George Wendt, and Chris McKenna. Another commentary with the writer on this one. And then looking back on King of the Ants retrospective documentary with Charlie Higson, George Wendt, Chris McKenna, and David Michael Latt. That's pretty rad. And then Charlie Higson speaks on King of the Ants. And we got Bobby Johnson on scoring King of the Ants, and then an interview with the producer, Duffy Hecht. Quite a lot of good stuff. This seems like a pretty fun release.
Yeah, absolutely dense as well. So many special features.
Yeah, this is a good one. And for those that have never seen, I actually probably should have shared this over Criterion. I happened to get my my first couple titles as a Treasured Film subscriber. This is their release of
nice.
The Island. And then also came in You Might Be the Killer.
How much does it cost to subscribe to those?
Ooh, I think it was for all of the titles coming out in 2024, like £100.
No, that's not bad at all.
No, it was going to be like five or six titles, something like that.
That's not bad.
I will say, if they're watching, and it's by the way, happy birthday to Graham, who's the owner of Treasured Films today. If you're watching, sorry to complain on your birthday. This is how the posters show up when you order from the UK. Completely mangled, not great.
Do you know that's just pure British hard work right there.
Yeah,
that's what all my work at work looks like as well. So I recognize that immediately.
The posters are nice, but to have them come and look like that, whoo boy. Let's see.
Yeah, fix up.
Ronnie wants me to show Sibner, who was late, my costume. Sibner, you got to go back and watch the beginning of the show because man, did I scare the hell out of Crit. It was a great moment. All right, we're gonna go into announcement number 2. Next, we got some Arrow announcements. First, coming over in Crit's Edge of the World, we're getting a 4K and Blu-ray of The Usual Suspects on January 6th. Careful, that's a dangerous day. This one's going to have a bunch of I should not have said that. This will have a bunch of archival extras. We've also got, let's see, this is a 4K restoration from the OCN approved by the cinematographer. I believe it's the same as the Kino. They might have done slightly more to it, but I would guess probably not. They do have a collector's booklet with new writing by Barry Forshaw, which is pretty rad, but a lot of these extras we have seen previously. So, yeah.
I mean, I love Arrow. It's probably my favorite boutique label that's readily available to me other than Criterion, so I do pick up a lot of the Arrow stuff.
Yeah. How do you feel about Usual Suspects, Crit? Let's hear your unfiltered opinion here.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask. This is a movie that everybody loves. Oh, Kaiser Sose, but I don't care. It's fine. It is so okay as a movie. It has like 2 good scenes. I would say like the lineup scene is really fun. I love the lineup scene. It's funny. I like that it's just an amalgamation of all these takes that they couldn't really use because no one was taking it seriously, and it
Yeah.
just worked out very well. I love that Benicio del Toro just kept farting the whole time. And I guess the final walkaway scene is cool, but the greatest contribution of this movie is that Scary Movie was able to parody it with Doofy, and that's the best I can give it.
Yeah, this is a good movie. The hard part for me is, first off, there's no rewatchability for this movie. I don't feel like it's better the second time at all. And once
No.
you know the film, I don't think it's the same way. However, I do also think it's a bit overrated. But your first time, I bet it's a pretty entertaining watch still.
I just think that the final twist is stupid. I don't like the reveal of it at all. It's like, because the movie itself is good, like it's fine when you're going through it, and then the reveal happens, and you're like, "Oh, this movie sucks, man. It's terrible."
I get it. All right. Next, January 13th in the UK and January 14th here in the US and Canada, we're getting a 4K and Blu-ray of Incubus from 1966. This has been known for a long time as a cursed movie because two of their stars killed themselves, and the director insisted on filming in Esperanto, and it failed to get distribution because of that. Almost got lost in a fire, and a bunch of other things. But we are getting a 4K of Incubus. Wild. New commentary by David J. Shao, author of The Outer Limits. A couple different archival commentaries. So you got 3 different commentaries on here. And then newly filmed interview with Stephen Bissett, who's great at what he does. New interview with Esther Shore, author of Bridge of Words, speaking on Esperanto. And then an interview with the makers of Incubus. Nice looking release. New writing on the film in a booklet by Frank Collins and Jason Krupa. This looks fun.
Yeah, I've never seen this movie. I had tried to sail the 7 seas to find a copy of it once, but I was unsuccessful. And I'm gonna buy this simply so I can actually see it. They're forcing me to buy stuff to see stuff. How dare they?
Darn. Yeah, this is mostly just exciting that we can actually see that this is real finally. But that's a good reason for physical media. Love it. Next one is one that they've been teasing for a bit. January 20th in the UK, January 21st in North America. The Cell on 4K and Blu-ray. And this, speaking of stylish films, The Cell. This is by Tarsum Singh, who also did The Fall, which is coming on 4K in 2025 as well. This will have an illustrated collector's booklet with new writing by Heather Drain, Mark Edward Hook, Josh Hurtado, and Virat Nehru. This is going to have on disc 1 the film and extras on 4K. It's got the theatrical and director's cut of the film. Both of those will have Dolby Vision. New commentary with Josh Nelson and Alexandra Heller-Nicholas. Another new commentary with the screenwriter Mark Protasevich and film critic Kay Lynch. 2 different archival commentaries, so 4 commentaries altogether. New interviews with Tarsum Singh and Paul Laufer. And then on disc 2, this is Blu-ray only, we have the unseen version of the theatrical cut of the film that's presented in a different aspect ratio with different grading from a brand new 2K master created by the DP, and a bunch of other extras. There is so much on here. You got multiple visual essays, lots of other interviews. That second disc is going to be crazy loaded. How does everybody feel about this one? Because this is one I'd seen. Me too. I'd seen this like 1999, and for some reason, all I remember is pretty colors.
Admittedly, I did watch a couple of these recently after they were announced, so like I could be refreshed, and I rewatched The Cell the other day, and it's just so good. It's absolutely good. Like, do you know how good of a movie you have to be to have Jennifer Lopez as your lead, and it still works? It is crazy good. I mean, the music's done by like Howard Shore, who obviously most famously did Lord of the Rings, but he did a bunch for David Cronenberg. Like Videodrome. He did The Fly, Scanners. He also did Silence of the Lambs. And he does the music for this, and the music is gorgeous. There's a lot of dream logic in this movie that I love. Amazing visuals. The cast is great as well. Like aside from Jennifer Lopez, who I mean, I'll stop being mean because she does actually do all right. But like Vince Vaughn is in this movie when Vince Vaughn was still trying. Vincent D'Onofrio when he was a great little character actor back then. And he's absolutely fantastic in this movie. Obviously, the makeup, the design, the colors, it's all just very, very gorgeous. And the sleep suit thing that they're in is like the armor from Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is so cool. So, yeah, great movie.
Yeah, this feels like a must for me. I feel like this is one that it's probably going to sell out fairly quickly. I don't know how many they're planning on printing of this, but I don't see that they view this as a super popular film, even though it is a very mainstream title. I would say this probably does not last in the limited edition to a sale. So, yeah. Next one up is The Gift. This is January 27th in the UK only on 4K and Blu-ray. And if you did not see Mr. James Flowers' tweet from Arrow Video, basically said that this and the Shout disc are pretty much identical. Like there's not going to be anything different. They worked on doing it together, and yeah, this is looking great. What's up, Flex? That's a name I've not seen forever. Still talk to Flip? Yes, I just talked to Flip fairly recently, actually. Zach, you cannot join in with Sibner and attacking me. This is crazy. And I was not born in 1995. What is going on? Oh my gosh. Had so much hate in the comments. The Gift. How do you feel about The Gift? Have you seen The Gift recently? Oh, well, I'm sure you love The Gift with who you were just talking about.
Yeah, I love Sam Raimi. And The Gift is actually like pretty low on my Sam Raimi ranking. But Sam Raimi is one of those filmmakers where like even his bottom movies are still fantastic movies.
Yeah.
And yeah, The Gift is no exception to that. It's a great movie. I think it's one of his more simpler movies, one of his more laid back movies, you know, but I still think it has everything that makes Sam Raimi great as a filmmaker. He just doesn't overdo his style. You know, it's a lot more palatable to like an average audience, I think, than something like Evil Dead 2, where it's like, if you're not on the ride, then you're just not on the ride. Yeah, it's a great movie. I don't have as much to say about it as The Cell, weirdly, but I do like it a lot.
This movie too, and neither one of us said much about it, but the overall casting in this film is something that gets overlooked. This cast is legendary. Like pretty much everybody in this is top tier star. Also, major shout out, Cate Blanchett doesn't get enough love. And what's crazy, she gets a lot of love, just not enough. Cate Blanchett is always amazing.
Yeah, agreed. Just absolutely fantastic. I'm missing Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes is in this movie. I mean, yeah, she's in this movie. And she's very good in this movie. Also, the guy's name I can never pronounce is Giovanni Ribisi or whatever.
Exactly like that, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, who recently did the DP work for Strange Darling. Absolutely phenomenal in this movie. Again, I think genuinely he's one of my favorite character actors. Every time he shows up in something, I get extremely excited because I know there's always going to be at least one very reliable performance in whatever movie he's in. Also, I spoke about this on They Live by Film recently, but I any opportunity to talk about this, I will. He's also the lead in Sneaky Pete, which is a cancelled Amazon show. Everyone watch Sneaky Pete. It's so good.
Yes, I've heard it's very good. Next from Arrow is the one and only Inglourious Bastards. This is one of a handful of controversies that has been brewing in the physical media world this week. This is coming January 13th in the UK and the 14th in North America on 4K and Blu-ray. And the big controversy from this one is the studio 4K was not that great. A lot of people had some major complaints on this. And the hard part is this is the exact same 4K. You're not getting a brand new Aeroscan restoration or anything like that. Of course you're not. It's a Tarantino film. There's no way that they were getting access to this in a way that would get them the arrow treatment that we all want to see them do for a film like this. So, by the way, if you were thinking of getting this because of the rumors of a new restoration, that is incorrect. That has been confirmed to not be accurate. But I will say, this release still looks pretty great, especially if you don't have that other 4K yet. It's got crazy limited edition packaging. It's got a nice box, got a nice poster. The art is pretty great on this. Some double-sided fold-out posters, 3 postcard-sized art cards, a strudel recipe card, and then on the extras, there are new interviews with some people, new visual essays, including one by Walt Shaw, who does a lot of the Deaf Crocodile stuff. And I got to say, I have seen a couple of the interviews that are on this disc already. They are really great special features. Even some of the smaller actors that are in this, I really think you will appreciate this if you check this out. I don't think this movie looked awful on 4K. I'm also not quite as nitpicky as others on that. How do you feel about that? Are you super nitpicky on the picture? Or are you kind of forgiving?
I'm pretty forgiving. I mean, I watched like a lot of those 35mm scans and stuff like that, which are all like torn to shreds and whatever. I can forgive some egregious shit, and as long as like it's not super noticeable, I'll let it. Like, because I remember there was a lot of fuss over the Aliens 4K transfer, and I watched the Aliens 4K transfer, and I didn't notice anything. I've
been
watched
saying since day one, the Aliens 4K is pretty great.
Yeah, I watched it and I was like, man, that's a beautiful movie. And then I looked online and everyone was raging. And I was like, what happened? Did I get like a different copy or something? I don't know.
Sibner's asking in the chat, is it a worthy upgrade? I mean, I'm not going to say that, if you already have the 4K, do you need to buy this? Probably not. But if you're a special features geek or you love Tarantino, this is probably going to be the best release of this film we ever get, to be honest. And I genuinely, the extras on this are great. And I got to say that I can't say anything else, but there was something else that was supposed to be on this disc that might show up elsewhere someday. I'm still very sad that did not make this disc, because I've seen that and it was an incredible piece that would have made this a must own. But anyways, if you Sibner saying if you only have the Blu-ray, I would say it's a decent upgrade. To me, like, the worst thing I could say about this is a couple of the highlights were maybe a little blown out, but I think for depending on who you have doing an HDR grade, that happens more than people think. There are some things where it looks like they think brighter means better colors, and that's certainly not always the case. If you love this movie, this is probably worth getting. That's it. Last one from Arrow. January 6th in the UK and the 7th in North America. Rampo Noir from 2005. I only know, I think, 2 people that have seen this, and they both said that this is amazing. I'm dying to see this. This looks incredible. Probably the title I'm most excited about from the January announcements. We got a new commentary on here by Jasper Sharp and Alexander Zalton. New interview with some of the directors. New interview with some of the artists and some actors. A bunch on here. I mean, not much to say. This looks like a great release. This looks like, to me, like a quintessential classic Arrow release. This looks great.
Yeah, I'll pick it up. It's very beautiful. I've never seen it before. I know it stars Tadanobu Asano, who's fantastic in everything that he's in. So I will pick it up when I see it.
Craig from Deaf Crocodile says 99% of my HDR grading notes are too bright. Amen. Exactly. Staffino says, Ryan, I'm guessing you're covering VS in a couple hours. No, but only because, heads up, VS announcements are not coming in a couple hours. Those are coming tomorrow at noon Eastern, not midnight Eastern. They threw us for a loop this year. Usually it would have been in September, and this is a different thing. And since it's because the first of the month, all of their stuff comes out at noon, Yes, it will be happening at noon Eastern tomorrow, and then I'll be posting all those announcements as usual. Michael is asking, anyone know if the Criterion sale starts tomorrow? I don't think it does. I think, if anything, it will start next Friday. They usually start on Fridays, and I think because the 1st is a Friday, they delayed it 1 week, but I'm not entirely sure. Don't take my word as gospel. I've not seen any word confirmation spread yet about it starting already. That's it for Arrow. Speaking of Deaf Crocodile, don't want this to get lost in the shuffle, but last Friday, they also announced their newest title. This is The Outcast. This is coming at the end of November. You can pre-order this now from the website, deafcrocodile.com, from Diabolic, from everywhere. The limited deluxe edition comes in this gorgeous pencil drawing hard box, which I think looks amazing, but even better, maybe, is the standard edition. I love the art on the front of this. This looks gorgeous. And then the back here has all of the information. This release is done by the same director of Blood on Satan's Claw. This is Robert Wynne Simmons. The Outcast was just recently released by BFI as well, by the way. This is going to have a new interview with Robert Wynne Simmons, new interview with the composer, Steve Cooney, a new visual essay by Rod Stoneman, who was the former head of the Irish Film Board. And I think it's a pretty good visual essay myself. We got some ultra rare short films on this that Robert Wynne Simmons did. Some of them even showing some random huge stars like Charlton Heston and Michael Redgrave and Peter O'Toole and Sammy Davis Jr. He just kind of hung around and met some stars and got them to do some stuff with him. The inside, we got a 60-page illustrated book with a new essay by Paul Duane and Walt Chaw. This release looks incredible. If you're into this, if you are into the folk horror genre at all, definitely recommend this movie. I loved being able to work on this one. I think people will genuinely like it. And the other part is, if you already have the BFI, this is still an incredible release to pick up because they have pretty much exclusive extras. This has almost everything from the BFI, and then the BFI has, I think, one more bonus interview or something like that. But all of the short films on this release and the visual essay and the interview, none of those are on the BFI. So this is like all brand new stuff. Great release. How do you feel about The Outcast? I'm sure you've never seen it.
Well, yeah, I've not seen it, no. But to my not surprised, not many people have. I mean, I literally just searched this on Letterboxd, and 366 people have logged it. Like, so this is probably going to be the best opportunity for most people to see it, I think, in a modern context. I'm super excited to see it, though. I will be buying this. One, obviously, the artwork is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and I love folk horror, and any opportunity to see more folk horror is great, especially when it's Irish. So, because they're already scary, just going to Ireland is already like being in a folk horror movie. So.
And the movie itself, very beautiful. By the way, this is probably a good time to shout out the Deaf Crocodile podcast announcing this dropped last Friday as well. And I got to be honest, deathly proud of this episode. Everybody should go check it out if you haven't. It is all about film restoration. We get into the nerdy corners of film restoration, including like, what software do you use to restore film, and what do you do while restoring film, and what's the entire process, that sort of thing. So I think you would love it if you were to go check it out. But probably the biggest news of last Friday is that everybody that tried to go on Diabolic or Orbit could not access the sites because Trick or Treat from Red Shirt Pictures and Synapse was finally revealed. And not only was it revealed, it was immediately available. And for many people, it's already shipped if you were purchasing it. So this thing is from 1986. It is a heavy metal horror movie, kind of. This is going to be a 4K Blu-ray CD 3-disc package, limited for the deluxe edition to 6,666 copies, 2,222 of each cover. This is cover A, this is cover B, and this is cover C. I'm going to do this once, and then I'll go back to cover C for a moment, but not wanting to shame anybody who bought it, but just a heads up, kind of weird that Synapse and Red Shirt chose to do this. The artist for Slipcase A is a known plagiarizer. He is somebody that has just straight stolen art from elsewhere and put it onto covers and music. I think he did CD covers like 12 years ago. Got busted just straight lifting stuff. So my favorite of the three, I think C is the most faithful to the feeling of the movie. And yeah, I like this one quite a bit. Dude says there's already an unboxing video of it on YouTube. And Brent says there's 29 left to cover C on Synapse site, 96 left of A. Special features on this are pretty good here. We've got a commentary with Charles Martin Smith, moderated by Mark Savage, audio interviews with Michael S. Murphy and Rhett Topham, audio conversation with Paul Karup and Allison Lang, and then a making of that's an all-new retrospective featuring a whole bunch of people from the film, and a special appearance by the one and only Gene Simmons. Plus, there's a tribute to Tony Fields in this with new interviews with the late actor's family and friends. Horror's Hallowed Grounds with Sean Clark, a music video, whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, this truly came and was a massive hit last Friday.
This is such like a bizarre movie. I like it in like a very special way, in that like this can't exist today. Like it cannot be made ever again, because it just simply doesn't work anymore. You know, every aspect of this film is a pure time capsule. You know, the music, the style, the vinyl record, like it's all very of its time. But it has some great like visual effects. It's like a little bit Heathers, a little bit Shocker, it's a little bit Christine, it's a lot of bit Elm Street. It's just like an amalgamation of like all these great titles just kind of thrown together. Obviously Gene Simmons is in it, that's fun. Ozzy Osbourne shows up as like this evangelist like preacher who hates rock music, which is really, really funny. It does have a bit to say as well about like idolizing celebrities and not viewing them as gods. It doesn't go anywhere deep enough for it to really matter too much, but like, you know, it is at least trying something, which is more than what you would expect. And yeah, I just think it's a really fun movie.
I mostly agree. I think it's also a bit cheesy, but I mean that's the 80s. You kind of want that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a movie about a rock and roll like guy coming to life through like a Ouija board of a vinyl record. Like, if it's not cheesy, it's not doing itself justice.
The other thing I will say, the fact that this was $74 after shipping is a little bit predatory, if you're asking me. Not that this is not like a title that people have wanted for years, and it's 3 discs, and I get that, but what they are doing, because this is the first HD release, I don't see anything in this package that makes this worth $73 shipped. I could have seen 45 plus shipping and felt a lot better about it. But obviously they're going to make a lot of money off of this, considering it sold out on Diabolic and Orbit, and Synapse has sold incredibly well over this last week as well. That's a lot of money. Like I get that prices are ticking up everywhere, but I don't know. I mean,
honestly, that does feel like it's coming from the place where, like, because it's not that available, they get to choose, you know, the mark in which they do it. And I think you are right. I feel like predatory is kind of the word. You know, it's like taking advantage of being the only person that has access to the water. You know, you don't need to.
Right.
It's just like you could sell it for cheaper. You just could.
And then Synapse being Synapse, on day one when this was selling out everywhere, they said, by the way, we don't have any plans to do a standard release. And then within a couple days, they said, okay, we're going to bump up the standard release, which that just means you had one planned the entire time. What are we doing? Like, moving it up, that means it was already, that was prepped. What? You can't just lie blatantly like that. It's ridiculous.
Sounds like you can.
Touche. Yes. Well done, Redshirt and Synapse, for getting this done. I do want to throw out, I find it kind of weird that it's a Red Shirt Pictures logo on the side. I get that Michael Felsher probably did a lot of the acquisition for this and obviously produced pretty much the entire thing, but you're doing it through Synapse. It's weird that their name is not on it at all. Anyways, that's just me. Next up, Kino announced that Law and Order from 1932 is coming on Blu-ray sometime. And I could not copy and paste properly the word remastered there, but remastered in HD from a 4K scan of the OCN. That's great. This is a John Huston adaptation starring Walter Huston and Harry Carey. I have never seen this. This is quite old.
Yeah, I've not. I mean, I've seen a couple Harry Carey like movies, like Red River, but yeah, I've never seen this before.
Yep, been a long time coming, I'm sure, since I believe this will be the first HD release. Next up, December 3rd, Walmart is getting exclusive 4K steelbook from Warner of Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. Funny enough, this was the art that was released over in, I think, Italy or somewhere in Europe, and we're just finally getting this art. I know that the first one sold very quickly, so if you are after this, you can pre-order this now, coming on December 3rd. Next title. Have you seen this one? The Count of Monte Cristo. This is coming on December 2nd in the UK from Entertainment and Video. Have not. Damn. I have heard that this is genuinely incredible. Like a lot of people are hoping that it's the UK foreign picture for the Oscars.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking at it now. I didn't know that was this year. I will have to see it then. I'm aiming to see basically every movie I possibly can from this year. I'm on 128 so far. So
Woo. I was just talking to my friend Jeremy Long, who is always on the show with me sometimes, and that was a weird sentence. Always on the show with me sometimes. He appears a lot, but he's one of my producers, and I'm doing very well. Like I've seen, I think 35 from this year, and that's about 20 more than I normally have. And then he told me his number is like 274, and I was like, God damn it.
Jesus.
This is supposed to be great. I've not heard much else about this other than I read some reviews when this was announced, and it's supposed to be like one of the better adaptations of this.
That's silly. The genre for this movie is drama, action, thriller, romance, adventure, and so all of them.
It's just an everything.
So it doesn't have a genre, basically. It's all of them.
Jeez. All right. I see you.
Lane.
Next up, Kino is releasing a 4K of Undisputed from 2002. Brand new HDR, Dolby Vision, and SDR HD masters from a 4K scan of the 35mm OCN. Just a little movie called Undisputed. What do you want to tell us about this one, Crit?
I like this movie. It's not very good, but it's fun. Like it's one of those movies where everything that you think is about to happen happens. It's not going to subvert you in any single kind of way. The entirety of this film's quality is held up by its cast. It has a great cast. It has like Michael Rooker in this movie as like just a random like guard at the prison. Obviously Wesley Snipes, who was an absolute beast back in this time. Like he was just jacked, and he just looked like a fucking animal. And obviously Ving is so good, who was in The Wild Robot this year, by the way, voices an eagle. Does very well, by the way. It's just fun fact, I guess. I love boxing. Boxing's my favorite sport, but I think this movie weirdly understands the sport of boxing better than most movies I've ever seen, even ones like Rocky and Raging Bull. You know, like the boxing for those movies feels like the clothes that it wears, whereas like this movie really does kind of get it. It understands it. There's like a lot of great little monologues just about boxing in this movie. Like there's one where Wesley Snipes basically says that every fighter loses, you know, whether it's just not your day, whether it's old age, it just happens to everyone. Which is something like I think even boxing fans forget. It's so annoying. Like I'll see like a video of like Prince Nassim or whatever, and it's like, yeah, this guy was so great, and then someone will always comment like, yeah, but he got beat, and it's like, well, yeah, everyone gets beat by someone. Mike Tyson got beat by Buster Douglas, like, and Buster Douglas is like, he's nobody, like, in retrospect, you know, no one's putting Buster Douglas in their top 5 boxers all time. It happens to everyone at some point. You know, Ali got knocked down. So yeah, I just feel like this movie really got the sport on like a fundamental like level. Also, there's a great like little moment where they say, I'm not an athlete, I'm a gladiator. People play baseball, nobody plays boxing. Right. Which I think is like a great little line. Yeah, by the way, Michael, not Mayweather. That's because Mayweather is a wimp. I'd never say that to his face, but it's fine. He wouldn't throw a punch anyway. He's too busy dodging.
I just want to point out that you said Wesley Snipes was jacked back in this time, and I immediately want to say I think you mean New Jacked City, but that's a terrible joke. Let's go to the next one. Indicator, another UK. We're having a very UK week on this one. Yeah. Having their October sale, which they've done quite often over the last few years. This has nearly 350 items on sale. This will last until noon UK time on Monday, the 4th of November, which is this coming Monday. So if you want those, go check it out. They've got all kinds of stuff, including the Michael J. Murphy set, down to 50 pounds. They've got limited edition titles for as low as £7, and they've got the 3 for £15 deal as usual. You got a lot from Indicator?
No, not really. I don't think anything at all, actually.
Whoa.
I know. How shocking. But my collection isn't like that massive, but yeah. I don't think so.
Indicator's good stuff. I get a lot of people that tell me that they wait until this sale and then they order for free shipping. So there's some big boxes heading to the US from the UK, guaranteed.
Oh, actually, I mean, I don't have it, but I did once pick up. What was it? Because I've just like gone onto their Instagram and I can see like the style of their covers. And I did pick one of these releases up, but I lost it in a move.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know which one it is. I'm looking through, but I can't find it.
They've done some great stuff throughout the years. They've mostly been focusing on genre lawn over the last year, but also a lot more classics than they have. A lot of what they've done, they've done even a couple John Carpenter titles. They did hardcore. They've done so much stuff over the years that are just great. Indicator's probably, in my opinion, I've said this many times on the show, the most consistent of the boutique labels that have been around for a long time.
Ooh, I think it was 2 Orphan Vampires.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, they did that first Irreversible. That's right, Sib. Yeah, and their hammer sets have always been great. Paul's right.
Yeah, I'll check them out.
Whoops. Clicked the wrong thing, of course. Hey, another semi-UK thing.
I was going to say, don't call it British. I'll be on you.
Well, the company's UK, at least. Curzon over in the UK, releasing Kneecap from this year, and this whole release is weird. First off, this is coming on November 25th, but you can pre-order this release, which looks like this, or this one that has all the quotes, or if you're feeling froggy, there's this special HMV exclusive one that if you're over in the UK, you can order.
That will be the
one anywhere else. I do like all of these. These look, I mean, first off, this movie looks and sounds amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but I have a big poster on this wall of this movie.
Nice.
It's one of the posters I picked up recently from the cinema. It's one of my favorite of the year so far. I don't know where it sits, but I'll have a quick look. But it's quite high. It's 14. It's at 14. I really,
Yeah.
really enjoyed this movie. It's absolutely fantastic. I feel like if you want something that's not going to feel like anything you've seen before or likely will again, this is the one.
For those that have never heard of this one, this says of the 80,000 native Irish speakers, 6,000 live in the north of Ireland, and 3 of them became a rap group called Kneecap. This is the real life story of how this anarchic Belfast trio became the unlikely figureheads of a civil rights movement to save and reinvigorate their mother tongue. I had meant to go listen to some of the music before tonight, and I
It's
totally forgot.
fantastic.
I wish I had.
It's
It
great
will still
music.
be on my list. Next up is Oscilloscope. In December, they are releasing Sometimes I Think About Dying. This is, it says 2023, but I think most places are finally able to see that as of this year. This is the new Daisy Ridley film, which is getting pretty great reviews from everybody I know that has seen it.
Yep.
Can't wait to get this in from Oscilloscope as part of my sub. They do great, great stuff.
By the way, just want to add, love this movie.
Nice.
Absolutely love it. I think it's near perfect. It's like I think you'll like it specifically, to be honest. I think anyone that's worked in a kind of office setting can heavily relate to this. Like Fran, who's played by Daisy Ridley, who's absolutely just gives a beautiful performance in this movie. She is so completely relatable in almost every idiosyncrasy. It's a movie that's very depressive, very melancholic, and yet oddly hilarious. Like, I think it's the perfect example of telling the smallest possible story, the most insignificant like journey, whilst maximizing its effectiveness. Like the empathy on show is breathtaking. And it's just kind of the story of a person that wants to be relatable, a person that wants, you know, human connection, but doesn't know how to have it. And it's just great. Also, you can't Google this movie. Every time I've ever Googled this movie, it sends me to a helpline. It's it's really bad. Oh, also there's a small character in the movie played by Brittany O'Grady, who's in It's What's Inside this year.
Nice. Which I okay, I'll spoil it, I guess. Want to say thanks live for Crit. Crit is going to be in the next issue of the Physical Media Advocate, writing
Oh.
about It's What's Inside.
I didn't want to spoil it just in case, but you know, I just thought I'd throw a little hint out there. But yeah,
I'm stoked
I
to have you in there.
thank you. I haven't read the piece back since I sent it you because I'm scared I'm going to read it and hate it.
No, it looks great. It looks really good in the issue as well. I think you're gonna be happy with where it ended up.
Okay, great.
Well, thanks, Michael. Michael says he has every issue. Well,
You
check
better
out
have this
Crit
one as well. Yeah.
and let him know what you think.
Unless you
Next
hate
up,
it, then don't.
Air 4444 announced 3 titles. I'm going to zoom past these because we're going to talk about them more in just a little bit. Once Upon a Time in the West 4K is getting a standard release on January 14th. We've already talked about this before. Just want you to know, because this sold out quickly, that you do have another chance to purchase this. Venom, The Last Dance, the brand new Venom film, has a 4K steelbook. It will be on standard 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, and probably, I don't know, VCD somewhere. This is all coming soon. You can pre-order these now. But the steelbook, pre-ordering for $65 USD right now, which is insanity.
That's more money than what this made at the box office, I think. No, really trying to... No, I don't know how well this movie did at all. I'm just glad they exist, honestly. I think it's absolutely phenomenal that Tom Hardy gets to do this.
I've not seen any of them.
I've seen the first one. The first one's fun. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's fun, you know? Tom Hardy saves it. It does nothing that Upgrade doesn't do better. But just seeing Tom Hardy ham it up for the camera it's fun. You know, The second one's not very good at all. I don't really like the second one. It has Woody Harrelson, and he does not get the vibe at all. He does not know what's going on that set. But this one looks fun. It looks fun. I haven't seen it yet, but it looks alright.
Yeah, and that note on the price, as the couple people have commented there, that's why I think I'm fully out on steelbooks. It is crazy the prices that are going up. It used to be they would list them at like 50, and then by release date they would come down to about 35, and then even some of the Lionsgate ones you'd come down to 22, 25. No, a lot of these are staying at the same price and never going down, which is that's just I can't spend a $65 bill on Venom: The Last Dance steelbook.
I love steelbooks. The first like top shelf of it, that one is all steelbooks, and it is so expensive. I bought a second-hand copy of Oppenheimer, the 4K steelbook, and the second-hand copy was 65 quid.
That's crazy. It's like literally and that's the crazy part. Ronnie is asking, do they actually sell at that price? Yeah, they do. They're selling out, which is insanity. I think they're printing less, so it's selling out quicker. But the people that have money, it's absolutely crazy. Same as you. I love steelbooks. From right here, I could probably reach out and touch 40 steelbooks right now, and I haven't even checked. That may be a little high. Don't test me. But that's how much I love them. I have them all over this room. It's crazy with the price they're charging all of a sudden. Anyways, Piece by Piece, the newest Lego movie. This one featuring Pharrell Williams, already coming to Blu-ray and DVD on December 17th. Kind of surprised this isn't getting a 4K initially because it's a Pharrell film, but it's Universal, so maybe they'll release it in 7 months like the last few they've done. Did you see this one already?
I did.
Bad?
Right. So I should preface why I've seen this so quickly. I am a huge music fan. Music was my first ever love. It's what I did for a job in my late teens and starting my early 20s. And especially in the whole hip hop world, the grime world, stuff like that. I did a lot of work with like some fairly big people in that world. And I love Pharrell Williams. I love the Neptunes, which is the producing duo that he was a part of, if nobody knows. And this movie, is not very fun. Also, super weird. They have like a whole segment about like the Black Lives Matter movement, which is excellent, except for the fact that it's Lego, so it feels so fucking weird. They have a Lego Martin Luther King in this movie.
What the
hell? Yeah, and I was watching it and I was like, this should be illegal. This is stupid. But this movie is pure Chad Hugo erasure, and I will not stand for it. Chad Hugo, if nobody knows, because I'm going to nerd out now, is the second half of the Neptunes. And Pharrell Williams would be working at a McDonald's right now if Chad Hugo was not working with this man in the late 90s and early 2000s. And this movie kind of just treats Chad as if like he was just hanging around Pharrell Williams at the time. Like he was just happened to be there every time Pharrell made an incredible musical piece. Like it's more like a documentary than a biopic as well. It's kind of just Pharrell talking about his life. And they'll have interviews with artists and stuff, and they'll say, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Pharrell called me and said, oh, I've just made a beat, and then I showed up, and then me and Pharrell, and you're like, what? So Chad just wasn't there? Like, he was just gone. It's as if like there was a Beatles movie and right. Paul McCartney was just talking about making all of the Beatles music and never referred to John Lennon, or it's like, we know what happened. You can't just pretend this whole other human didn't have this huge influence as well. But you can tell in the interviews like who actually cared and who didn't by whether they say they did a song with Pharrell or if they did a song with the Neptunes, because that's a very important distinction. So yeah, I just think it's a weird movie that rewrites a lot of history.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've loved the Lego movie so far, and I really wanted to see this. That is disheartening. I'll
Oh
still
my
see it
days.
someday.
Sorry, Michael's just asked what Lady Sovereign's up to. I haven't heard the name Lady Sovereign in a while. I wouldn't say she's like still in the game. She's about, but she doesn't really do much anymore.
Ragnar's asking, did you all order your Captain Kronos today from Hammer? Reminder that did go up for pre-order today, and me as well as many other people were speculating because of everything they were putting in there. That thing was going to be at least $125, and then it popped up and it's like $66, $67 US plus shipping. It's a really great price. It's not a movie that I need all that for, so I didn't order it. But I got to be honest, if Hammer can continue to knock out packages like that for only $67, they're going to do very well. That's a big deal. So that was Piece by Piece. And next is a little scrappy indie film named Seven. Once again, pointing out for Sibner from 1995.
Do you hate this one, Ryan?
No, I love Seven. This is an incredible movie. I think this is really cool that they're putting this out. I personally really like this art on the steelbook. If you've seen the movie, you know what the scene is from. Obviously, this is not that giant What's in the Box edition that went up for pre-order like 7 months ago and then got canceled. But
I'm so excited for that, by the way. When you posted it, I was really excited, and then when I saw it was cancelled, I was so upset.
Yeah, Seven. How do you feel about Seven?
It's a good movie. It is, but I don't love it the way most people love it. I think I might just have a thing against Kevin Spacey. Wonder why? No,
Thankfully, he's barely in it.
But I don't know. Like, I think it's very charming, which is a weird thing to say about Seven, but it is. Like, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman's relationship is very charming. It's very rewatchable. I think it has some really great sequences, super like vivid visuals as well, like things that really stick. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first David Fincher other than Alien 3, so this is like his first original film, I believe, but I could be wrong. So yeah, for like what's technically like a creative debut, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and he's landed incredibly well. But it's just not something I'll go to that often.
Obviously both of the leads are great in this, but Morgan Freeman is so special in this movie. He is just he's playing mentor Morgan Freeman in a way that is incredible. Love this. Love
Charming should be on the cover, by the way.
Dustin. This looks like a good release. Coming soon. We don't have a release date yet, but you can pre-order it from Groove. It is not a Groove exclusive, so I would imagine we should be seeing this pop up elsewhere. Also, I know we've kind of talked about this before, but it's really shitty, especially of WB, who's doing this one, to do this whole let's put up a title and announce it with no release date, just see how many people buy it, and then release it someday, and you'll like it. The best thing here, though, there's cover art at least. For a lot of their other stuff recently, you didn't even know what you were buying. They were just like, hey, we're doing this. Do you want it? And I mean, this is a better step, but I mean, no release date is crazy. You essentially just want me to donate $37 or whatever it is to Warner Brothers in the hope to invest in your future.
You could not imagine the hatred I have in my heart for Warner Brothers. David Zaslav is like my least favorite person on this fucking planet. I hate them so much. It's annoying. Every time you see Warner Brothers in any kind of headline, it's always something that pisses you off. It's never they never have a good headline.
It's true. Although I feel like the UK has better Warner Brothers than the US because of they get all the special edition releases.
Yeah, it's true. That's fair, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I want Wiley versus Acme. Release it.
Yes.
Release it. What are we doing here? We don't
Yep.
need another steelbook of Seven. We don't need more Seven. Seven's been around forever. It's like the most available movie ever made. Okay, can we just have? Can
At
we have
least it's a
Acme,
new
please?
format.
Ugh.
Hopefully it looks good.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
The rain is going to look amazing. All right. Next is Melanie Griffith and Cherry 2000 coming on December 31st on Blu-ray from Kino. This is a brand new HD master from a 16-bit 4K scan of the OCN, supervised and approved by the director. We got a new commentary by Heather Buckley, Michelle Kisner, friend of the show, been on here before, and Holly Honeycutt. We've got an archival commentary with Steve, with the director, and with Walt Shaw, and then some short films from the director as well. And then there's a second disc, which also includes Tales from Zone 7, an oral history of the making of, plus the Zen of Julie Weiss, filmed interview with the costume designer, Cherry 2000 storyboards, a tribute to Cherry 2000, the making of Cherry 2000, all kinds of stuff on this. I mean, this is a crazy good release. I know a lot of people are going to be after this. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, it looks super beautiful. I haven't seen Cherry 2000, but I have seen Steve DeJohn's Miracle Mile, which you're going to talk about later on. So that does incline me to see this movie. Plus, the cover art's awesome.
Yeah, I think people will like this. Let's see what is next. I don't think it's Miracle Mile yet. Oh no, it's the big news.
Yeah, boy.
Seinfeld. Yes, that Seinfeld, the entire series, coming on 4K and Blu-ray on December 17th for the first time ever. That is huge. And if that's not enough, we're going to talk about some more details on that in just a second. But first, Chinatown also getting a standard 4K on January 14th. This sold out very quickly, so you'll have a chance to get that. But Seinfeld, like we said, these are coming in these giant boxes. They are going to be 24 discs each for the Blu-ray and the 4K. There will be special features with commentaries, deleted scenes, bloopers, alternate versions of a few episodes. And then the Blu-ray is formatted in widescreen, and the 4K is in the 4:3 ratio, which most people want. That is the correct original ratio.
Yeah, that's what I'd be picking up.
And I love that in their press release where they answer questions, they say, by the way, you can also just buy a digital version if you want to own the upscaled versions. You can pre-order these now, but this is huge. This is a title that has never been released in HD on physical media. And for them to make the leap from a pretty great looking DVD to 4K for Seinfeld is going to make a lot of people happy.
Hell yeah, I'm one of them. I love Seinfeld, which is weird because I'm 23 and from the UK, but it just works for me. I really like Seinfeld. There's something, again, very charming about it.
There are a lot of people, including a couple in the chat, saying sitcoms on 4K is the dumbest thing ever. Chris on Facebook saying 90s TV shows don't need 4K. I'm sorry. It was shot on film. Why? Like, this is going to look incredible.
Listen,
on 4K.
I kind of agree, and I'm still going to buy it because at the end of the day, I'm a consumer. I love Seinfeld. I hate capitalism, but I can't help it. You know, you can only hold off your hatred for so long. You know, you can hate capitalism all you want, but then they waggle that 4K Seinfeld over you. You know, and I'm right back, baby.
Yeah, this is. I get it. It's a silly choice, but also the people that love Seinfeld are the nerdy ones that love 4K. Like, that's kind of the end of the day. And honestly, so the whole aspect ratio thing, that's kind of why I get what they're doing here. The kind of people that would buy the Blu-ray are the ones that would complain if it was in 4:3 because there was black bars. And the people that are going to buy it on 4K are the nerds that will go, oh, thank you, it's the correct aspect ratio. Yeah. And so I get why they did that. They'll probably get less complaints this way. but it's also very weird to not put it in the same aspect ratio on both.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know why they've done that at all. Why would I mean? I guess because the 4K is more expensive, they're just gonna put the better version just
Yep.
overall on the 4K to make people, go there because everyone's evil apparently. But whatever.
This is available for pre-order now. I've got the links listed there if you want it. On Amazon, it was listed. I haven't checked today, but it was at $250 when it first went up. Granted, that will likely come down quite a bit pretty quickly. Friends already came down for $150-ish, I think, a couple times. I would not imagine that this is going to be much higher than $150 all that often. And they are going to be, I believe, made on demand. So it's not something that the price is going to fluctuate all that much after it comes down, I imagine, because they're not going to have shelves full of these things. They literally are going to make them when you order it. So not bad. Looks like it should be good. Cauldron is the first thing we're going to talk about. That's going to make tomorrow a very, very busy day. An update from Cauldron says to join them at 3 p.m. Eastern for the Houses of Doom restock, a new Neon Eagle video title, and more. Everything that goes up this Friday is in stock and shipping starting tomorrow. So they have some of the Houses of Doom box sets that will be back. I know that that's already been selling for extra on the secondhand market. They've already said it was coming back multiple times, so don't overpay for that. There will be a brand new Neon Eagle video release coming tomorrow that will be revealed tomorrow. Their very first title, American Rickshaw, will get reprinted with a brand new slipcase to celebrate it being their first title. The Ninja Terminator box set is going to be back. They've only got a few, but it will be there. There's going to be some sale prices and bundles that you can choose, some catalog titles. Some of these are going to be very limited. They might also be listed on Diabolic, but the sale items will only be on the Cauldron site. This is a big deal. We get a brand new title, and it's going to be a busy frickin' day.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking through their releases right now.
They also teased that there was a 4K Blu-ray combo coming from them soon. Not sure what that's going to be, but hopefully we get an announcement on that soon. Yes, they said they're working to have much shorter pre-order times going forward, and we hope with this next Neon Eagle video title being available now, they are off to a good start. Sibner says, is Cauldron the most inconsistent label as far as putting stuff out? Not even close. They wouldn't even be in my top 5 at all. There's some labels that do like one thing, go away for 2 years, and then release their next title. I'm looking at you, like Fractured Visions. They took like 2.5 years off for Philip Escott to be an incredible producer for Second Sight, and then they came back and released 2 more titles. Next is Miracle Mile, like we just talked about. This is from 1988, also getting a reissue on December 31st. This has another brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the OCN. New commentary by Janet Fitch and Matthew Spector. A couple different archival commentaries. And then on the second disc, again, a bunch of short films, some reunions, some new interviews, including a new interview with Paul Haslinger, who is the one that scored it, some deleted scenes, outtakes, bloopers, refining the diner scene, extra small pieces, pretty much everything that you can want for this title, except for UHD, which a lot of people have been complaining about. And Kino came out and said if we wanted to do this in UHD, it would have cost an extra $50,000, and it will not sell that many. So that's exactly why they're not doing it.
I mean, I think that's completely valid. You know, when I saw that this was getting a release, my first thought wasn't, what? No 4K? Like, I was just kind of happy that it's getting at least a little bit of a nod. Yeah, it's a great little movie. Very self-contained. It feels like very in the same vein as Fincher's The Game.
Yep.
You know, where like you're not quite sure what's real and what isn't, and whether what's actually happening is really happening or not. And I've always had like a little bit of a problem with the end. I'm not gonna spoil it, obviously, but I've just not. I never loved the end. I don't think it was handled the best, and it also just ends very abruptly. like it has a decision, and you're like, okay, this is what we're going with, sure. And then it's like, oh, and then credits, and you're like, oh, okay, sure. We didn't want to wrap that up. Okay,
Right.
cool. Why not? But otherwise, it's very fun. A lot of good performances. You get wrapped up in it very quickly. Everyone is very frustrating. Every single character is just doing the most obnoxious thing they currently could be doing. You know, like one character will be like, "Stay here. I just need to go and do something," and then that character
Right.
just won't stay there for some reason. Every time they do the same bit like 5 times, but it is fun.
Sibner is asking, what is my top 5 most inconsistent labels, which is an odd question to answer, but I would have to say probably Fractured Visions, Vestron Video. We'll go with Mondo Vision, who was the company that did that giant Velvet Possession box set. They were supposed to do a couple other Schwafskis that have not happened. Still waiting on those. We'll go with Raro Video. It seems like they do nothing for like 8 months, and then suddenly they release like 5 or 6 titles, and then they do nothing again for another 8 or 9 months. And gosh, that's oh, I know exactly what it is. They just announced they're coming back. Anti-Worlds over in the UK, the sister label of Indicator. They're a great one. All of their titles have been incredible, but they just disappeared. I think in the last like 3.5, 4 years, they've done 2 titles, and that's it. What's going on, Pulp? Next one. Solstice. This is technically what they call the first Lifetime original TV movie, I believe. This is from 1994. This will be a pressed mod Blu-ray coming on November 5th. And it is going to include some commentaries. It's going to include a bunch of features. This was originally I think it was a crowd-funded release, and now it's just getting a wide release. That's the big upgrade here, is everybody can get it.
I'd never even heard of this movie, and I went to Letterboxd to just like do some research on it, and it's been logged by 21 people.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like insane to me. Obviously, that's not everyone that's ever seen the movie, but like,
Right.
that's just I don't think I've ever seen anything that low that isn't just like a student film. That's insane.
There are some Hong Kong films from the 90s that I've been looking at recently that have like 4 views. It's wild how many of those do not have wide distribution.
Insane.
So that is happening. Next up, December 9th, the Blu-ray in the UK from Final Cut, Fellini Satyricon from 1969. The hard part here is this has been released a handful of other times. I think Eureka even did it already, and there's no real reason to pick this up. This isn't a new restoration. There's not a lot of bonus features. This is just a way to get it back in stock, but I think most of the people that would want this kind of probably already have it from the previous releases. Hopefully it does well for them, but yeah, Fellini Satyricon.
Also, the Eureka cover is just nicer.
Yeah. Craig says Lifetime and Letterboxd. Probably not a lot of crossover there. Next up after Fellini is The Soul Eater. This is coming on 4K Blu-ray and DVD from Dark Sky Films on December 10th. This is a brand new film from 2024. I've heard this is kind of a divisive film. Some people really, really like this. Others kind of hated it. It seems like this creative team is moving towards more of like a supernatural focus for all their films, which not a lot of people love for this. But yeah, from people I trust, they've said that this is good. I've never heard of it. Elsewhere, Cape Light is doing this 4K release, and they're working with Dark Sky to have this released.
I haven't seen it yet. Out of all of the 2024 movies I have seen, mostly because I do have it, and I am going to watch it, but the actual like cover art for it, not the one for this beautiful 4K. This should have been the poster. The actual poster for this movie looks so direct to DVD, that like it's just off-putting every time I go to see it. It's so ugly.
Yeah. Totally get that. All right, we're going to be talking about these for kind of a minute here now. Air 4444 is the next one that is going to make tomorrow a busy day for some of us. The first title here is Egg from 2005. We already kind of covered the other one for a second, but we'll go to the details in just a minute. The next one that's going to be in this bundle, as I click away yet again, is Coming Soon. That is literally the name of the film, Coming Soon, from 2008. And then the third one, which is this one that you're seeing here, the Deform Collection. This is going to include a short and a feature-length film. And so these are the bundles. They are dropping tomorrow at noon Eastern. First, this Deform Collection is $36 for a slipcover release with a booklet and 3 stickers. They have the Coming Soon, which is $36 for a booklet, 3 stickers, and the slipcover release. And of course, Egg, which is $36 for a booklet and 3 stickers. Or you can get all 3 of them for $130. And this will also include 3 double-sided posters and 3 exclusive alternate slipcovers. That's a lot of money for 2 slipcovers for 3 different titles.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful artwork, I'll give it that, but like, god damn.
Yeah. It's a rough one, and I'd be interested in checking out all the films. Coming Soon especially looks pretty great to me. That and Egg. I'd really like to see Egg.
Yeah, Coming Soon is the one that like when I saw the cover and then I did a little look into it. It's the one that I'm most excited to see.
But we also have our details on these already. Let's cover them. The Deform Collection. This has Deform from 2020 and Deformed Gecko from 2017. We've got a double-sided slip with new artwork on here, a booklet with an essay by Guy and BTS photos. That's behind the scenes, not the band. 3 stickers, reversible art sleeve. We've also got a director-approved HD feature film interview with the director. That's 23 minutes. A making of that's 20 minutes long. Intro to characters and creatures in Deform. That's 12 minutes. And then a short film that's 2 minutes, and an original chapter credits that's 5 minutes. Not a ton on this one. For the next one, which is Coming Soon, this one will have all the same physical goodies that we already talked about, and then some archival interviews. Crazy for Kong, which is Arna Venema's production team. They're doing Siam Spectrus, the Ghost of Thai Cinema, which is almost 20 minutes. I bet that's going to be great. A making of that's 15 minutes, behind the scenes, some deleted scenes, and alternate ending. And then finally, Egg. This is coming with booklet essay by Michelle Kisner, Amber Teagan, let's see, interview with the director, archival interviews, and then Cracking Cultural Expectations visual essay by Zoe Rose Smith. Yeah, I don't want to just shit on these, but these seem less exciting to me than what they were putting out for a while. I hope they do well for them, but I don't know. There's less special features, and I got to be honest. The Air 4444 stuff recently, the picture quality has not been the greatest, and the extras have honestly been on the lower end of quality as well. Not going to be a downer for anybody putting them out, or if you're going to purchase them, but really make sure that you want these. I hope people are not just purchasing these to be a completist and get every single one, but I kind of feel like they've done probably 5 titles that I really loved that they put out, and they've got other stuff in the pipeline that's extra exciting. But I don't know, something about this drop seems like I don't know, like it was bundled with other titles, something like that, or maybe they're a little less passionate about them. Not sure. Sibner says, how often do you think boutiques, he specifies in another message, how often do you think boutiques put stuff out because they're passionate about it, and how often is it about finding something cheaper to restore and get the FOMO going? Um, to be honest, I think that kind of depends on the company. If we're going to talk about something like Shout Factory, I think that percentage would be higher. If we're going to talk about somebody that is on the smaller end and is only doing 3 to 5 titles a year, generally I would say that's probably not even happening all that much at all. Uh, I think that at least the labels that I'm close with, like especially something like Def Crocodile or TerraVision, I work so closely with both of those companies because they're genuinely passionate about every single title. And I'm proud to be working with both of those. I don't think they do much for FOMO. I think that they have some of the better prices everywhere. But I mean, some of the larger companies, yeah, I could see why that question would come out for sure. Chris says, I don't buy from this label because I already have enough labels to buy from. I'm sure they're okay, though. Ragnar prefers the older titles from them. Honestly, that is probably more of what I'm feeling here. I think Egg might look the best for me out of these, as far as like if I had to buy one. But I feel like they're doing better when it's the older stuff. I'm not sure. Like Vinegar Syndrome at this point, I mean, they're one of the larger companies. I'm sure there are some stuff that they are putting out because they got an opportunity to, and even then, I'm sure somebody at the company loves the movie, but that doesn't. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome is huge. There's probably no titles that every single one of their employees love. Let's see. Yeah, Craig says way too much work for a title that you don't care about. Yeah, that doesn't happen for Def Crocodile or TerraVision ever that I've ever seen, literally. Michael Smith, I don't get how Imprint doesn't sell out faster. 1,500 copies. They must not sell very many in Australia. Well, the hard part is they're very expensive. They're not a competitive price. Let's see. That was Air 4444. Next, November 12th, Paramount releasing Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Season 1 on Blu-ray. I did not see this coming. Are you a fan of the Turtles or animation like this, Crit?
I'm a fairly big fan of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like in general as an IP. I love the original comic, the not really the run, but just the original first ever comic. I'm a big comic book fan, so yeah, it's a great run. I love the original like movies, well, the first two, especially the first one. I think the first one is surprisingly good. Like it has like the goofy suits and all that stuff, but like it's just
Yep.
so oddly well made and well written for a stupid 90s like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Yep.
I was watching it the other day because I had bought the steelbook for it, and my girlfriend just happened to be in the room and she was doing something else, but then she got like locked in on the movie and sat down and watched the entire thing with me, and she had never seen a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles anything before, and she was super into it. So yeah, I think like as an IP it worked really well. I liked Mutant Mayhem from last year. I don't think it does the best with the IP. I didn't love it as much as other people loved it. I don't think it utilized what made the IP special in the first place, but it's a gorgeous animation. And I've not seen the animation for this show, but it looks in a similar-ish style, just obviously with a lesser budget, I suppose. And yeah, no, I think it's a great IP. Obviously, I've not seen this because I'm not 12, but yeah, no, it should be great, I think.
More streaming shows coming to disc though. That's
a
the win here.
positive. So it's a positive.
Amen. Next up, January 21st, a company called Kit Parker Films, which is not a new label, which I've had a couple people ask. They're releasing a double feature of Apache Rifles and Panhandle as a Western double feature. Coming on Blu-ray, Apache Rifles is from 64 with Audie Murphy. Panhandle's from 48. Kit Parker Films has done some restoration work. I believe they've worked with VCI in the past. Not sure entirely what is going on with. I'm not sure if they're like going to be called a boutique, or if they're going to be a part of ECI, or they're working like that behind the scenes. But there is a severe lack of companies doing some of these old westerns that isn't Kino Lorber, and some of these titles just wouldn't get releases without them. So I hope people are after these. These are not my style of films, and I don't think they're crits either.
No, not really at all. I mean, you know me. I've never. I like westerns aren't something I wouldn't say that I don't like because I've just not been exposed to them that much. I think most people get into westerns through like their dads and stuff like that now, where
Yeah,
like their dads was, but my dad was never super into westerns.
same.
So yeah, my dad was always into like action movies. So like Demolition Man was one of my first movies I ever seen and stuff like that. So that's what I grew up on. I didn't grow up on westerns. So when you like start moving into your adulthood and watching movies by yourself, westerns seem like this big daunting task to get round to. So I've seen a couple, but like I've heard of Apache rifles. I've not even heard of this other movie. So
I somehow I missed this in the photo earlier. I didn't even see that this said remastered from 4K in here at the bottom. I mean, that's pretty random for this, that they got both of these from a 4K scan.
I
All
mean,
right.
sure.
Hopefully they look decent. That's all I'll say. We are on our last announcement. This was announced earlier this year. Berserk, coming from, I believe, Discotech put it out. But there is a Crunchyroll website exclusive steelbook here. And just like we were just talking about with the prices, it is much more expensive than the other release, of course. And they were all in on the FOMO. This is only going to be printed once. It's not going to be reprinted at all. So if you want,
Boo.
get out there and buy it now is what they're trying to say. But it's something like $65, $70, something like that. I'm not super into anime. We haven't talked about anime. Are you into any of that?
No, not really at all. I like obviously some Studio Ghibli movies, I suppose. Like I showed The Boy and the Heron at the top of the this live. But honestly, no. I think as a child, I was super into like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, but I mean that was every kid when I was a kid. Like, but otherwise, not really. No, I've just never dived into that world. It's not something I'm massively caring about.
Michael Smith says, "Who can afford to be an anime fan? Damn, they're expensive." This is true.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely true. All right, that takes us to the end of the announcements. And always, in case you forgot what's coming out next week, we share what is dropping next Tuesday in the U.S. at least. We are getting the 4K of Godzilla, White Christmas 4K, We Were Soldiers 4K, the whole I Love Lucy complete series on Blu-ray, Rules of Engagement 4K from Kino, the one and only M. Night Shyamalan's Trap on 4K, finally. Reprint of the Wizard of Oz 4K and a new steelbook. I'm assuming to go off of the hype for Wicked. Is there hype for
What
Wicked?
hype?
Yeah, that's
God, that movie looks dog shit.
You know, I wanted, like, I love Wizard of Oz. It's an incredible film. I wanted to be excited for this and all that, but god damn it, and I don't mean this as like it looks like a bad movie, which it also does, but it simply looks bad. Like,
Yeah,
it
no,
looks like it was shot so poorly.
right. As someone that's trying to be a YouTuber, we need people to stop being YouTubers. We need people to stop trying to be influenced. We need gaffers. Okay.
Yes.
We need DPs. We need more people in the industry working on lighting, on color, on set design, because this movie looks dookie and it costs like it costs a country. It's ridiculous.
Oh man, that is so true. Escape from New York 4K steelbook from Shout Factory next week. The 4:30 movie from Kevin Smith is releasing next week, and if you want the 4K, you got to buy the steelbook, of course. And what's funny is that one's reasonably priced. It's not $65. It's fairly normally priced.
Shout out to Kevin Smith.
South Park not suitable for children. Another streaming event coming to Blu-ray. Can't speak. Bluey seasons 1 through 3 coming to Blu-ray. 1982 greatest geek year ever from MVD Rewind. Strange Darling, we mentioned that earlier as well, coming out. Blink Twice coming on Blu-ray. Did you see Blink Twice this year?
I did, yeah.
What did you think of it? I was kind of surprised that it actually took me in. Like, I don't think it was the best movie, but I was surprised that I liked it quite a bit.
It's okay. I think the movie is best encapsulated by Channing Tatum and Zoe Kravitz calling off their engagement.
Touche.
Yeah.
Fright 4K from Kino Lorber, the Fake Crow 4K coming out next week. Krampus 4K Steelbook of the Naughty Cut coming from Scream Factory. Last Christmas 4K. Made in England, the films of Powell and Pressburger from Cohen Media. John Wick 4K Steelbook, yet another release.
Do we need more John Wick?
It will be so exploited until the end of time, it feels
Can we let go?
Sam says, I think Zoe did a fantastic job in directing that film. Honestly, that's what surprised me the most about
Yeah, I will
movie.
say the directing is probably the best thing about the movie.
I agree.
It also, just real quick, has probably my favorite title card of the year so far as well.
It's a good one. It's a very good one. Proud and Profane from Kino. Court Martial of Billy Mitchell from Kino. Let's see. Wolfman's Got Nards that had been delayed, now also getting released next Tuesday. Frankie Frico from Shout. Afraid coming out. What'd you think of Afraid? I'm sure you've seen that one.
Nope.
No.
Avoided it like the plague. I don't care enough.
I did the same thing, and I watched it, and the ending is actually unique and made me come out surprisingly happy with it.
Okay, I might get round to it like near the end of the year when like the releases have slowed down and stuff like that.
This is an odd one. The Planet Earth trilogy is coming out on Blu-ray, even though the other ones have been released on 4K, and they're not doing a 4K trilogy. I don't know. It's a weird one. The Italian Connection from Raro Video. You Gotta Believe 4K from Wellgo USA. Genie getting that made on demand. Any of these making you jump up to purchase it other than Trap?
The Escape from New York 4K, probably. I really like Escape from New York.
It's a great movie.
Absolutely great movie. Do you know, this actually speaks to something that I was on Twitter the other day, which is always a bad start to a story. And someone was talking about how Halloween isn't in their top 5 John Carpenters. And I saw that and I was like, that's insane. But and I nearly blocked them because that's the human I am. And then I thought about it a bit more. And the more I thought about it, the more like I was more lenient to the idea. Because like John Carpenter's one of those directors where you'll watch a movie and you go, yeah, no, that was perfect. 5 stars. That will be 7th. Like...
True.
So like I couldn't really hate it too much because their top 5 had like Escape from New York, The Fog, The Thing, They Live, Christine, whatever. So I was like, yeah, no, okay, fair, that's fine.
John Carpenter, like, I adore the man. I mean, I've got a signature over there. I've got most of his films in steelbook displayed because I think they're great. I have always liked most of his films. And then seeing them on the big screen will make a film suddenly real to me. So, like, Prince of Darkness was always lower tier Carpenter for me. And then I saw it in a movie theater and went, holy fuck, this is a masterpiece. This is so good.
I will say the best movie for that, I would say, is The Fog. Because The Fog, like, relies so much on its atmosphere. And I think that atmosphere is so much more effective in a theater.
Yep.
I did a video on The Fog. Go and watch that. Here's a plug. But yeah, no, The Fog, I think, is probably like one of those movies where most people don't have it that super high up on their list. But I think it's probably top 3 for me. Like I love The Fog so much.
That's one of the only ones I have not seen on the big screen from him.
It's fantastic. Oh,
See, and one that I adore that you haven't said yet, Assault on Precinct 13 is probably
yeah.
my top 5.
Do you know, I was working on a video before I took this hiatus, of watching a director's best and worst film. I was going to do 4 directors. I'm still going to do it eventually, the video, but one of them is John Carpenter. And the way I was figuring out their best films was going on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Letterboxd, and then finding the top 3 on each one, and then finding which one occurs most at what spots and whatever. And Assault on Precinct 13 is his top-rated movie. I think, is it? No, it's not going to be Letterboxd. I think it might be Rotten Tomatoes, and then it's like in the top 3 for the other 2, which shocked me. Like, Assault on Precinct 13 is fantastic, it really is, but like I didn't expect it to be so overwhelmingly at the top.
Right.
Like, I think The Thing edged it by like 1 second place. Like, if The Thing was in 3rd place on one of the things, then Assault on Precinct 13 would have been his highest rated movie, which I think is just crazy.
I mean, one thing that might be affecting that is Erica Schultz going in and making sock accounts to vote for Assault on Precinct 13 for having one of the best child kills in all movies.
Oh, that's true. It does. It does. It's fantastic.
So yeah, Escape from New York. I definitely am getting the 4:30 movie. I've been dying to see this.
Yeah, me too. People are calling it Kevin Smith's The Fablemans, which I which I think is just a fucking hilarious thing to say about a Kevin Smith movie. But I love Kevin Smith. I love who he is as a dude. He seems so chill, so nice, and every time like he talks about a movie he's made, he just seems genuinely grateful that he's ever been allowed to make a movie. So I'm always down to support a new Kevin Smith movie.
Plus, I mean, he's just cool.
He is. Not as cool as that.
No, that was really bad. My nose doesn't fit in these very old.
Got like the Yosemite Sam mustache going.
So tonight, our discussion: 10 of our favorite horror films by non-horror directors.
I forgot we were doing this.
Yeah, we are 2 hours into this and just now starting the discussion side.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. First off, did you ever, while preparing for this, since you're an over-preparer, did you think about the opposite? Horror directors that made non-horror movies and some of the best.
I didn't at all, no. Oh, okay. So clearly you did. So where are you going with that?
I just wanted to see if you were thinking about it, because while looking at my list and trying to do some research, there's a lot of ones that are very obvious standouts, and I had to choose a lot of the very obvious ones. But then there are things, and I didn't put this on the list that might be on yours. Sorry if there's a spoiler here. Like The Shining sticks out very obviously for Kubrick because nothing else is even remotely a horror movie. But there are some others that you could throw out there and say, John Carpenter makes a lot of horror movies, but something
almost exclusively, yeah.
Like a couple of the films you could argue aren't even remotely horror at all.
Yeah.
And those sometimes are
Assault on Precinct 13, I think, is probably the best example of that, yeah.
A lot of those are their best their best films or highest reviewed films, or their absolute lowest reviewed films.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I mentioned Wes Craven and Sam Raimi earlier. Wes Craven has a movie called Music of the Heart, which stars Meryl Streep and Angela Bassett. And it's a true story about like this music teacher. And it's just a super sweet movie. And like it's super weird like when you watch it though, because like it's got all this really beautiful soft like classical music, and then it comes up directed by Wes Craven, and you're like, this just feels jarring. Like that name doesn't work in this context, but he does really well. It's not an awful movie by any stretch. Sam Raimi as well has I mean, people love to say For the Love of the Game, which isn't a great movie, but he has The Quick and the Dead, great Western movie. I love The Quick and the Dead, and
great cast in that.
Yeah, beautiful cast and a simple plan, which is one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies. And yeah, it's just a straight up drama, like a crime thriller, and it's really good. It's a great movie.
Let's see. We got a question. What was the first horror film that got you into horror at all?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were talking to me. Um, I would probably say Scream. There were horror movies I had seen before that, but I've spoke about this story endlessly. But um, horror is my favorite genre of movies. So when I was first getting into movies, I didn't like horror really at all, because horror to me was like the Conjuring sequels and all that stuff, which I just didn't care about. But I really liked Matthew Lillard because I loved the Scooby Doo movies, so I decided to dive into his filmography, and I got to see like SLC Punk and stuff like that. But I got around to Scream, and luckily I'm one of those people that it never got spoiled. You know, I never knew who the killer was or anything like that. So I got into that, and I love that movie so much. I've seen it more than maybe any movie ever, other than probably Jurassic Park. I've seen it like I've got a little Scream tattoo there on my wrist. Yeah, I love the whole franchise. It's great. It's a shame what's devolved with the Melissa Barrera situation and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic series, and they're very close to my heart. So I'd probably say Scream and The Thing.
Funny enough for mine, I had seen a couple things earlier. Like I saw Child's Play way too early, and I saw
Mm-hmm.
Carrie way too early. But I have kind of two answers for this. I have one that really made me appreciate these, and then one that made me like hungry for these. And the one that I appreciate is actually one of my answers tonight, so I can't reveal that yet. But the one that made me appreciate it was we were just talking about Carpenter, was Halloween. My parents had me sit down when I was 8 years old and watch Halloween, and it changed my life entirely.
Yeah.
I immediately wanted to devour all of these films, and I'm so grateful for that moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's very similar to Zach. I know his mother showed him Halloween when he was quite young, and they have like a really beautiful relationship over that movie. And it's just a great movie to have a relationship with someone with. I do think it's a perfect movie, and still to this, like, because people's like bring it to the modern context, and you know they find it funny at times because of Michael and stuff like that. But I think it still works. I think
Yeah,
people aren't giving it the time.
I would agree there. You ready to get into this?
Oh yeah.
All right. So this is going to be fun. Like I said, this topic, like if you go Google horror by non-horror directors, you get a lot of the same answers over and over. And
Hmm.
a handful of those are on my list because they're some of my favorite movies of
Yep.
all time. But I had to throw in a couple that are pretty off the wall as well. So let's hear your number 10.
Okay, before we hear my number 10, I have 3 really quick honorable mentions.
Sure, sure.
So I have The Omen by Richard Donner. I have Bringing Out the Dead by Martin Scorsese, and I have The Host by Bong Joon-ho. Okay, so my number 10 is 10 Days Later. 10 Days Later, sorry. My number 10 is 28 Days Later by Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle.
Yeah. Obviously, Danny Boyle has not done any horror otherwise. He's working on 28 Years Later, and he's done like the National Theatre of Frankenstein. But otherwise, you know, he's known for Train Spotting and 127 Hours, Slumdog Millionaire, Yesterday, that weird Beatles movie. He's not at all in that genre, but 28 Days Later is just so special. It's so specific. Like, there's not another movie with this feeling. I think it was one of the first like apocalyptic movies that I saw that really sold the isolation of it. You know, like a lot of movies feature the isolation, but this movie really makes you like sit in it. You
Right.
know, I love the one scene where they're just walking over the London Bridge or whatever, and it's just desolate, it's empty. Um and it is just like a really sobering moment where it feels, you know, um the first episode of The Walking Dead, you
Yep.
know, when Rick wakes up and it's just kind of empty. I feel like that takes a lot from 28 Days Later.
It does. Definitely
It
does.
it has just all of that feeling, and the cast for this movie is so good as well. You know, you got Naomi Harris, a young Cillian Murphy, Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson is so beautiful in this movie. Christopher Eccleston, the Doctor, he's hanging around here. And yeah, and I think because of the scrappy nature of it as well, because obviously it's a independent movie from 2002 shot on like the worst camera they could find.
It
Um,
does truly look awful.
so I feel like that does give it like some of that grittiness that I think it benefits from. It might have been accidental, but it does very much benefit from, and it makes the finale of that movie feel really sickening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 10 pick. It's fantastic.
It's a wonderful movie. I already see a couple people saying, "Well, what about these movies?" For some of these directors, there are going to be borderline other films sometimes that are, possibly classifiable as horror. Like
Yeah,
I could see Sunshine being called a horror, especially that third act is kind of
yeah.
very. It's at least existential dread.
Well,
Uh,
we did speak about this because it's
yeah,
hard to find a director that's done one horror film and no others at all.
it's true.
So we agreed on like a it has to be 85% non-horror or something like that. So they're allowed like one or two other horror movies, but have to be like predominantly not.
Thankfully, my number 10, I think there is truly nothing else that you could say is even remarkably horror. And I got to go with the movie that I watched for the first time and didn't truly love. But I think just simply growing up and like discovering the true horror of it all really made me realize, yeah, this is actually kind of a masterpiece. That is 1990's Jacob's Ladder by Adrian Lyne. And
Mm.
comparing the rest of the films, I mean, you've got Unfaithful, Lolita, Fatal Attraction, Flashdance, Indecent Proposal. Like none of these are even remarkably horror, but yet Jacob's Ladder is this fever dream of coping with horrible aspects of war, and it's incredible. It helps that Tim Robbins is a freaking god that should have
Mhm.
acted in so many more movies from 1995 to 2020.
I blame Tom
Um,
Hanks.
yeah, that's can't can't really argue
Tom
with
Hanks took all the Tim Robin roles.
that. This movie, like the way that they show coping with PTSD is something that people that are studying psychology should watch as an example. It is that good. Absolutely love this movie. Love Tim Robbins. It had to be on my list. This is one of the first ones that I thought of.
No, it's a really good pick. This has Elizabeth Pena in it as well, who's a severely underrated actress. And yeah, she's great in everything she's in, especially back then. So yeah.
Yes, Imprint did a pretty great release of Jacob's Ladder. Everybody should check that out. Number 9, sir.
Okay, so I think this is one of those basic ones that you see everywhere, which is Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
My number 9 as well.
Oh, okay, good. That lines up very nicely.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't really do any other horrors. I mean, I can see people maybe trying to lean Twisted into there, I suppose, but I just don't think that fits all too well.
Yeah.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is one of those. Well, it's a remake that is better than what came before. It just is. And I guess you can get into semantics of it not really being a remake and just more of another adaptation or whatever. But
Reinterpretation.
yeah, but all the same, it just does everything the original movie does, but better. I mean, you have Donald Sutherland, who's one of just the most underrated actors of all time, and his passing recently really made this movie like stand out to me. You know, after he passed, I did go back and I watched a couple Donald Sutherland movies, and this one, his performance in this movie is just outrageously good. Brooke Adams, I say this about every woman, but Brooke Adams might be the most gorgeous person I've ever seen in my life. And that little scene that she does the thing with the eyes, I think is so goofy and stupid, but it's charming. It's like little moments like that I think make a movie, especially a horror movie. You know, where like people always assume like the scares and the atmosphere and whatever make horror movies, but the problem is if you don't have the characters you care about, if you don't have the moments that like endear you to a performance, the scares, the atmosphere, all of that stuff does not matter.
Right.
You know, it all falls flat. That's how you get movies like 2019's Child's Play, you know, where it's just like, it's technically well done, but I just don't care about anything that's happening here.
Right.
And I think Invasion of the Body Snatchers benefits from its director not being a horror director, because you have so much of the character writing and the stuff that you care about.
Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, we didn't hear much about the other stuff that he's directed, so I will show, you know, some respect there in his, I mean, his ability to craft stories that are deep. Like, the Right Stuff is probably the easiest one to point to.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, I mean, I don't know, it's something that is inherently compelling, and when you write about it in a way that makes you care even more about it, that that takes a lot to do, and not, you know, there's not been a lot for, especially for me, of like character study space films that work like that for me,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff is near the top of that list for sure. Philip Kaufman is great. This whole film is a masterpiece. Goldblum, great. Nimoy, great.
Yeah.
The practical effects are astonishing, and somehow, if you've never seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the version from the 70s, absolutely think you should put that near the top of your list. Must watch soon, because it
Yeah.
is fully worth it.
Oh, also, I would like to point out that this was going to be replaced on this list by a different Body Snatchers movie, but Zach told me it didn't count, which was The Faculty by Robert Rodriguez,
Ah,
because a lot of Rodriguez movies do teeter that horror line.
yep.
So it ended up not counting, but that's my favorite Body Snatchers type movie.
Yeah, Rodriguez. That's, I don't even think that's close to 85%.
No.
Oh gosh, yeah. He is basically all horror at this point. My next one, I think, is another small one that people tend to not think about as well, and it's also a good one because I think that you get to check out a great physical media release if you get inspired by this.
Hmm.
I've talked about this on the channel before, but I really want to shout out Penelope Spheris's The Boys Next Door.
Ooh, I've not seen
This was
that.
a film that was put out by the reason I'm wearing the shirt tonight, Severn Films. They released this, and it is a movie that is just wild. I mean, first off, you got an incredible performance by our two leads, Maxwell Caulfield and Charlie Sheen, and they are just out there, like, literally choosing to rampage and just randomly kill people. And it's so, it starts off so normal, and then it leads to these scenes where you're just like, I'm just watching somebody turn into a depraved asshole all of a sudden. And it's wild to watch, but again, like, it's done in a way where you feel for the two leads, and it doesn't help that Maxwell Caulfield is fucking gorgeous in the movie. He looks incredible, and then he's out here just straight murdering people, and you're like, well, tone it back. But Penelope Spheris really directs the hell out of this movie. That's the real thing that I wanted to highlight here. And yes, you do get Wayne's World later. You do get films that are very different from this, but what she really does is makes each of these characters feel like a lived in person that you can empathize with even when they're shitty. And that's true for Wayne's World. That's true for this. That's true for Decline. That's true for so many things that she's done. Decline is different, obviously, but you know.
Mhm.
Love this movie. If you've never heard of it, never watched it, Severin will put this on sale in every sale so that they can get rid of it. It'll probably only be like $13. It's a great Blu-ray. The extras on it are really good. Yeah, not much else to say. It's two high schoolers that go on a murdering rampage kind of just because they feel like it, and that alone makes it terrifying.
Fantastic pick. I'll have to see it. I've like literally just watch listed it.
Nice.
Okay, are we going to my number 8?
Your number 8.
Okay, so I don't remember if this is a common pick or not, but I wouldn't say so. And it is 2014's What We Do in the Shadows, which is a horror comedy by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement. And I adore this movie. I will say I don't like Taika Waititi as a director. I don't think he works all that well. I think, especially lately, I think he's got a bit too big for his own comedy boots, and he oversaturates his own movie every time. You know, like he did hit a good like little stride, and I think that's because he worked with good collaborators. But as soon as he got like full reins to do whatever he wants, it doesn't land nearly as well. And I think in the case of this, Jermaine Clement brings a lot to it. You know, he brings a lot of the restraint, he brings a lot of the comedy to it. And it's just conceptually, this is just a fantastic movie. The elevator pitch for this is brilliant. It's a bunch of vampires from different centuries being flatmates in the modern day. You know, and it's just so funny. Like, it's a mockumentary, you know, in the style of like The Office or something. And sorry, it's just hilarious, like seeing how all these like different era vampires like mix together. You know, you have like Peter in the basement, who's very much based on like Nosferatu. And then you have like someone that got bit like last week, you know, and he's just like a guy, you know, who like would deliver kebabs normally or something. Like they're just completely different people. And it's got some of my favorite jokes in any movie ever. I like the one gag where they're trying to have a good night out, but they can't get into any nightclubs because no one's explicitly inviting them in. So they have to keep going to different nightclubs and asking the bouncers to invite them in. I just think it's just such a stupid and silly like little concept, and I think it just works really well.
Yeah, this is not one that I thought of, but a great pick for this. Absolutely love this movie. Incredible joke rate, by the way. This is one of those movies that like
Mm-hmm.
you have to try to not laugh as much so you can hear the next joke because they come so quickly.
Yeah.
That's what she said. Yeah, great movie. It's hilarious. I think you would love it if you've never seen it. Number 7. This is absolutely a basic pick. So basic that we've already discussed it tonight. I'm going to go to Jonathan Demme's Silence of the Lambs. And again, perfect film. And you can only say that because it is so perfect. Yes, we all take it for granted. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's weird. Yes, it's creepy. The script is perfect. The framing is perfect. The lighting is perfect. The acting is perfect. Everything about this, you know, the even like small twists that didn't even have to be there, like you know, them going to the wrong house, like
Yeah.
that sort of thing did not need to be in this movie to make it effective. It still would have been terrifying, and it makes it so much better. But the crazy thing is to put this in the context of this incredible career. Like the dude started with some early like Corman titles and did one of the best concert movies ever made, one of the best law court dramas ever made, one of a handful of films that are other adaptations, like The Manchurian Candidate, that you would probably really like if you've
I
never
do.
seen it. Ricky and the Flash. Like there's so much that he has accomplished over the years. The fact that
Philadelphia.
he's yeah, that's the courtroom drama. The fact that this is really the only one that is hardcore in the horror realm and nothing else really even comes remotely close is kind of amazing in that long of a career. And the fact that he got it so well and got, accolades for it, that's what's crazy. And yes,
Yeah.
Ragnar, obviously got to talk about Thomas Harris. Wrote a great book to adapt. Yeah, can't take that away from it. But it's pretty incredible. Like he has masterpieces in like 5 different genres, and yet he never went back to horror. That's so weird.
I will say, although yes, due credit is for the book. Everything that I love about this movie doesn't explicitly come from that book. A lot of the book's ideas are great, like the idea of Hannibal Lecter and the idea of Buffalo Bill and the idea of the story are all fantastic. But when I think about this movie, one, I definitely think about the directing of this movie, especially the fake out with the wrong house segment. I think that sequence is brilliantly put together.
It is.
It seems so harmless at first, and then it's just the worst scenario imaginable, like within the blink of an eye. It's absolutely fantastically directed, and the whole like the night vision sequence is harrowing. Just the look of like Buffalo Bill's house is sickening. I think they do a lot with the source material that wasn't explicitly there, especially the performances. I mean, because I've read The Silence of the Lambs and the whole series, and Hannibal Lecter's a very, very interesting character, but Anthony Hopkins makes him something else. Like, yes, Brian Cox had played him before, and Brian Cox does a very good role. But when you read these books, it's one of those scenarios where when you're reading Hannibal Lecter dialogue and seeing him, I see Anthony Hopkins in my head, which isn't always the case when reading, a work that's been adapted.
That's true.
You have your own ideas of these characters, but when I'm reading Silence of the Lambs, I can't help but think about Anthony Hopkins because he's just so intrinsically attached to the character. So yeah, I think they've been Sorry, I was just reading Michael's comment. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I think the chemistry between the cast is great, and it takes what's already a pretty good book and makes it into something that's absolutely timeless.
Fully agreed. Yeah. All right, sir. That means we are on to your number 7.
Okay, so I'm getting in the big basic out the way, which is The Shining. It had to be here. Like, it's annoying that like some of these are like incredibly obvious picks, but it's also like I can't not say it though. I can't not put The Shining in the top 10 best horrors from non-horror directors. I showed this movie to my girlfriend in our 31 Days of Halloween, and she absolutely loved it. She was incredibly engulfed by it. And I think it's because, again, Kubrick wasn't a horror filmmaker. Kubrick's just one of those people that when you watch his movies, you can tell that he just loved the art of filmmaking. Like some directors, you watch it, like Spielberg, say, and he's not so much in love with directing, but more so in love with telling stories. And Spielberg loves telling a story, but like Kubrick loves directing and he loves making a piece. And I think this is a perfect example of that. It's one of the few horror movies where every frame's a painting. Every performance is pinpoint. I know, like, obviously Jack Nicholson gets a whole lot of praise for this movie, as he should. He gives the best performance, quite obviously, especially the initial bar scene.
Yeah.
I love that scene. It's probably the best scene in the movie. But Shelley Duvall is going for the Oscar in this movie. She's absolutely incredible, and I think she's probably one of the most underrated actresses of all time. She Every time I see Shelley Duvall, she gets the tone of the movie, no matter what it is, and she's always given 1,000%. Like Three Women, Annie Hall, Nashville, Popeye, whatever it was, she knew what she was doing. And I think The Shining is one of those examples. People love to like spread that weird rumor that, you know, Kubrick ruined Shelley Duvall mentally and derailed like her whole life. No, she wasn't terrorized by Kubrick. Like, this has been like outwardly stated by Duvall herself that they had a very good relationship. The problem is she's such a professional and she is so good at this role that people just believed it. You know, people like one person was like, actually, did you know that Kubrick abused Shelley Duvall on set and that's why she acts like that? And everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. Good, but no, she was just a very good actress. You know, and she denied the Kubrick abused her allegations all the way up until her death. But yeah, she's absolutely fantastic in this movie, and so is everything else. The Shining has been talked to death.
Yeah, it's also been lambasted by Stephen King. It's been terrorized by a lot of people. There's a lot that's surrounding this film. I love this movie, like most obviously, but I don't. The comment section's really funny right now. Yes, there's footage of Kubrick yelling at literally everyone ever. And I mean, yeah, you could say that she was terrorized just like everyone else, which still is terrorizing, I'm sure, but just not more so than everyone else. I'm still curious if we will ever get, like, I know that we've already got Doctor Sleep. That is not necessarily another adaptation of this, but I wonder if anybody will ever go back and try to do another adaptation of the book appropriately as the book is. Like,
Well, didn't isn't there a mini
yeah,
series? I haven't seen it, but I've heard so like Stephen King got it made so it was like more faithful or whatever. But listen, I've read The Shining. It's not Kubrick. It's not King's best work, not by a
no,
long shot.
but there are some very cool things that when you're reading King, that there are scenes from the book that you could just imagine would look great in a film. But when
Hmm.
you really think about it, it's not only would they be difficult, but it's difficult to make it make sense with the story because it's so like dream logic-y. And
Yeah,
obviously The Shining already has a lot of that dream logic with the rooms and random characters showing up that you have no idea who the fuck they
yeah,
are.
and
And
timeline
it's there,
inconsistencies and
yeah,
stuff like that.
it's
Yeah,
there to mess with you. And so I mean, too much of that and it's not
it
enjoyable
loses.
anymore.
Do you know? It's weird you said. I was talking to someone at work literally yesterday, and he's a big fan of Stephen King, and he was talking about this movie, and he was saying like, why don't people just make faithful adaptations of? And I was like, because King was on a lot of cocaine, and you just can't really translate a lot of these
Right.
ideas. I was like, there's gonna be no adaptation of it with the turtle. It's not gonna happen. Okay, so just sell your dream now and get rid of it. Just be happy with what you get. And King obviously loves Doctor Sleep by Mike Flanagan, which is the sequel to The Shining.
It's amazing.
And I think that's so bizarre because of how much Doctor Sleep obviously loves The Shining. Um, and I think he does a good job of like mixing the book material with Kubrick's ideas as well. So yeah, it's a great movie. Everyone loves The Shining.
Let's see. We are on, for me, I am on number 6, I think. Um, let's see. My number 6. So this one is another one that is not only a name that most people probably would not think of when hearing this topic, but probably a name that nobody would think of. This is a very small filmmaker. She only made, gosh, I think 4 feature-length films, 4 or 5, something like that. This is a pick from 1999 that if Zach, your buddy Zach Bryant, is watching still, he is probably at home whooping and cheering because it's one of his favorite films. Antonia Bird's Ravenous from 1999. This absolutely had to be on my list. She made like some romantic dramas. She made, I think, 2 films before this and 1 film after this, and they're all small character study. Guy meets a girl and there's a dramatic situation, the end type of stories. And in the middle, she made a period piece, cannibalistic, middle of the woods, fuck you film, and Ravenous is a masterpiece. This movie has an incredible cast, is made so well, has everything that you want in a movie that you don't even know that you want. It's essentially a Western mixed in with a film in the woods, and people are eating people, and it's a war film. Like, this movie is incredible. Ravenous is one of my favorites of all time. Not enough people have seen it. This is one that I'm really hoping gets brought back like into some major attention eventually. The hard part is it came out in the middle of frickin' 1999 when every great movie ever was released, and so nobody saw it because they were in the middle of watching all-time classics. But this is an all-time classic. There was something special about 1999, and this is a part of that, and people just don't recognize that. It's a beautiful movie.
I've got nothing to add. That's fantastic. It's really good. Just a little encapsulation there. I do need to rewatch. I really do, severely. I'm gonna need like your list after we're done so I can go through it.
Sure. We are on, let's see. So that was my 6. So you're 6.
My 6 is The Silence of the Lambs, which we've been through. So I guess we can just move on because nobody needs to talk about The Silence of the Lambs more.
Well, my number 5 is one that we probably don't need to talk about all that much and could potentially be on your list. Ridley Scott's Alien had to make my list. This is also one of the first horrors that I saw and has stuck with me ever since. I think it's still by far the best in the series. I think that he does have a couple other that cross over into the idea of horror, but none as full-fledged as Alien for sure. He's obviously a very different filmmaker with a lot of talents.
Yeah.
He's, I mean, one of the greatest of all times. There's not much else to say. It's
I
fucking
agree.
Alien, and it's also Ridley Scott. Like, somebody that can make this and make, fill in X answer here, because he's made so many movies that I could hear somebody say, I mean, even like Napoleon. I haven't even seen Napoleon, but I could see somebody saying that was my favorite movie of that year. Like, I kind of get it. If you jive with Ridley Scott, you adore a lot of the films that he's done because they're just epics. And this is like an isolated epic, and it's so well done. It's Alien. I mean, what else do you say?
Hey, that better not be a good year, Solander. I love a good year. it's a good movie, man. I like that movie. Yeah, I love a lot of Ridley Scott movies. American Gangster is my favorite Ridley Scott movie. But obviously I love Gladiator, I love The Martian, Blade Runner, Thelma and Louise. Obviously Alien Covenant. The Last Duel, I think, is probably one of the most underrated movies of the 2020s. It's insane that doesn't have like a massive fan base. Black Hawk Down. I even like House of Gucci. Like I just think Ridley Scott just works. He just works. I'm so excited for Gladiator 2. You have no idea.
Nice.
However, I will quickly spoil. I do not have Alien on my list.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Okay. On mine, I think I still have like at least 2 or 3 obvious ones, sadly. But I hope at least one of these will catch somebody off guard.
Yeah, I have some obvious ones left. So, this one may or may not be obvious. My number 5. It is Rob Reiner's Misery.
It's my number 4.
Okay. Beautiful. I just want to say, aside from the movie, Rob Reiner's like diversity in his filmography is ridiculous. Like just as much as Ridley Scott, when you have like When Harry Met Sally and Stand By Me and The Princess Bride and A Few Good Men, Spinal Tap, and then Misery thrown in there as well. It's like all just very vastly different movies and all great. Rob Reiner, I think, is genuinely, for someone who has made such high profile movies, one of the most underrated directors ever. No one ever mentions his name. And I think that's so bizarre for someone that's done so much. And yeah, Misery, Michael, you are wrong. Misery is absolutely a horror movie. And yeah, Misery is just absolutely fantastic. I've read the novel. I own the novel. I don't think the novel's that great. I think it is absolutely okay. I think the movie succeeds in being far better than the novel in almost every single way. Kathy Bates, I think, brings to life the character of Annie just as much as Anthony Hopkins brings Hannibal Lecter to life. She completely embodies and owns that character. When I'm watching this movie, I do not see Kathy Bates, like in the slightest. I do see Annie. And James Caan, absolutely phenomenal in this movie as well. It's very, very isolated. And yeah, for someone that's never made a horror movie, it's just expertly done.
Oh, so much to say here.
I didn't want to say too much because obviously you've got to get to it as well.
1986 to 1992, we have to point out this perfect streak. Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and A Few Good Men. The fact that you can make all of those back to back to back without faltering is insanity. And to do those in such a short period of time is even crazier. To do those like when you are literally at the age like your kids are coming up right around then. You are raising a family and you're making literal masterpieces forever at that time. Honestly, if you love The Sure Thing, you could extend that obviously to Spinal Tap, but I feel like The Sure Thing is a lot lesser than the rest of those. But I mean that period is crazy for Rob Reiner. This movie is amazing. And one thing, you obviously talked about the two characters, which is 92% of this movie at the very least. As somebody that is I've talked about this on the show before, so if I've repeated it, I apologize. As somebody that has had surgery on my foot 2 different times, and not just like cosmetic surgery or something like that, but very deep, we're breaking some of your bones, taking part of your foot out surgery, and I have had multiple injuries happen in recovery of those surgeries. This movie is scary as fuck. To think like I'm in so much pain that I can't even leave the room and this woman is going to murder me. Holy shit, this movie gets it right. Like him struggling to go 4 feet and people watching this are like, just reach up and grab that. It's like, no, that's not how this works. He is in literal like crumbling below him pain and your body just can't do that. This movie means so much to me. Love both of these performances. Kathy Bates, I don't know what it was, but there was a handful of movies that I watched when I was younger. Like fucking Fried Green Tomatoes was huge when I was a kid. I don't know why, but she was so amazing for me that I adored everything that she touched around then. And I think this is her masterpiece without a doubt. She is so damn good in this movie. Misery is a 10 out of 10. People need to watch it again if you are sleeping on it. It is absolutely a harrowing, terrible, scary, wonderful movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I did have something to say and I forgot. So there's that. Oh, no, I remembered. With the whole, reach for this and do that. Do you know, I hate those people when you're watching a horror movie and they say, just do this or why aren't they doing this?
Right.
I hate that so much. And my girlfriend does that. And every time, right, when like something's happening, right, in a horror movie, and she goes, "Oh, why don't they just?" I say, "Would you do that though? Put yourself there. Are you going to think about
Right.
doing that? Like, put yourself in that situation. Your mind is not as clear as you sitting on the sofa watching the movie." And then she's like, "Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't think about doing that." And I was like, "Exactly. Of course, you wouldn't think about it because you're about to be killed."
Literally. All right. So that was my number 4. So I think we're on your number 4.
Oh, lucky me. This was a last minute addition, which weirdly shot to number 4. Like, I put this in
Wow.
maybe a week ago, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola. I am shocked this is a divisive movie. I think it is quite clearly one of Coppola's best movies. I think it is probably a top 3 Coppola movie. It might be my favorite. It is absolutely incredible. And yes, Keanu Reeves, I understand. Sure. But the problem is, he's not in the movie for that much. And
Right.
he is not that bad. I don't know why people talk about Keanu Reeves like it's one of the worst performances of all time. It
It's
is
just
just it's like just a kind of bad accent the whole movie, but as you know, a British person, I don't care about it that much. I hear it and it's not even close to being one of the worst accents I've heard in film. People talk about it like it's Don Cheadle's from Ocean's 11. Like, it's passable, it's fine, but everything in the movie just works. Anthony Hopkins works in this movie. Gary Oldman obviously works. The style of this movie is unreal. Like, I would say this is Coppola's best looking movie by a mile. Just every frame is so perfectly crafted. Like, it could easily be mistaken for a Kubrick. It's just beautifully put together. And yeah, I can't believe this is as controversial as it is.
I love this movie. Definitely top 3 and maybe my favorite Coppola as well. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I saw it before other Coppolas and it means more, whatever. I adore this movie. It's great. Good choice.
Thank you. I agree.
Top 3. You agree. Okay, so I think I'm on my last like fairly oddball pick that most people probably wouldn't think of. The other 2 are fairly obvious, but this one is special because it's so freaking effective as a film. I I have to go with Gore Verbinski doing The Ring. And this movie is such a great remake that it's, for me at least, it surpasses the original. Obviously, like, you could argue that some of the scenes in the couple of Pirates movies that he did could touch on horror, but no, those are adventure films.
Ryan.
Gore Verbinski, what did I do?
I'm a fucking idiot. That should have been in my top 10. I can't believe you've done that to me. I mean, yeah, he did like A Cure for Wellness as well, but like overwhelmingly not horror. I have a whole video about how this is the best American remake. I love that movie so much.
Yeah. This is his standout. Yeah, he did A Cure for Wellness, obviously, but he's done enough to make this be enough that it counts here. And
he didn't do the movie, by the way.
I don't know, like, what else to say. This is, I think, one of the best remakes of a foreign film for an American. I think that it is an incredible remake. I think that it's written well. I think that Naomi Watts is astonishing. I think that the style alone that's captured here, that, I mean, like, you could say almost inspired all of, like, the Twilight series, making all of the Pacific Northwest look so blue. This movie is crazy. The horse scene, the TV scenes near the end, the fact that they had everybody that was watching a movie in 2002 staring at their phone afterwards because they were terrified. This movie did so much for me. I mean, I knew friends that were going to the drive-in theater in my city where I grew up, and I would go and wait until I knew when they were letting the drive-in out and call somebody's cell phone and say 7 days and hang up. And it was the best thing in the world, and it scared the shit out of them. This movie is literally a perfect remake. Again, not much else to say. The only thing I'll shout out, if you never watched it, back in the day, there was something called Ask a Ninja that was a very popular YouTube series. And he made a video about the Pirates movie one time. And in the most hilarious accidental accent, he said, the movie needed a lot more gore and a lot less Verbinski. And I think that his career needed that. I think if he stuck with this type of film, man, he could have done some great horror epics.
I think Verbinski just in general is needed a lot more. Like for all intents and purposes, his Pirates trilogy is some of the best action adventure stuff that you could possibly get, especially that first movie, Black Pearl. I think that is a perfect action adventure movie. It's absolutely timeless, and The Ring. Again, I emphasize I have a video on this, and I will not articulate my love for this movie better than I will there. So go and see that. I really love that video. But you are right with the whole blue tint. This movie did start that pretty much, and it changed fundamentally 2000s horror. Loads of horror movies, even like Saw and everything like that, started doing that bluey green like filter for their movies. But the actual like filmmaking of The Ring is super interesting as well. I do talk about it a bit in the video about like how they achieved that filter, because it isn't just like a color grading choice made in post, like a lot of the movies in the 2000s were that were trying to like imitate the same thing. They had like custom made like this filter and put it over the camera and whatever and shot the movie with the filter, so that color grade was like locked in. They could not change that in post, like. And I think it speaks to such certainty in that film. They knew exactly what they were going out to do, and they did it perfectly. So yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that you didn't have this.
I know. Like as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, I'm fucking stupid. So, just real quick, 28 Days Later has been voted off the island. The Ring is now like my number 4.
All right, your number 3 then.
My number 3 is probably the number 1 obvious pick, probably other than The Shining, which is Friedkin's The Exorcist, which is one of those movies where, like, I don't think there is a definitive best horror movie of all time, but there are a select few where if you told me this is the best horror movie of all time, I'm not going to argue otherwise. I'll be like, yeah, that sounds correct. And The Exorcist is one of those. And again, I think this is one of those cases where the idea of it being horror is very much secondary, because this is a character study above all. When people think back on this movie, they think about Reagan and the possession and all that stuff, but that's not even a big chunk of the movie. The major chunk of this movie is Father Karras, and it's called The Exorcist. People think The Exorcist and then think the demon, but The Exorcist is, well, The Exorcist. It's the priest. And it is mostly a movie about Father Karras and about faith and learning to find faith again through, spectacular means. And when I was watching what was I watching? The Blu-ray of this movie. It has an intro from William Friedkin, and he's introducing the movie, but he says a little interesting piece where this movie, you take from it what you want to get from it. If you take from it that oh god, my alarm's going off. This is my work alarm. if you take from it that faith is bad and evil wins in the world, then that's what you're going to get from it. But if you want to take from it that, there's positivity in the world and faith works and all of this stuff, that's what you're going to take from it. And I think that's a beautiful way to put this movie. It's thought with horror secondary and its characters first, and I think that's what makes it so effective.
This movie rules, obviously. Most people that have seen this always put it near the top of their list. This is a movie that you can look back on and catch new things every time. And it's one of those that we've talked about tonight that I mean, the lighting alone, you could write multiple essays about how they light this film. The choice to shoot certain scenes from certain angles could be written about for this film. The fact that this has such a cultural impact still 50 years later, it shows how important this is, and I'm not shocked it's on the list. It is not on my list, but I'm glad that it was talked about because Friedkin is kind of like one of the best directors of all time, so it's important to discuss.
Also, yeah, just rest in peace to Friedkin, probably the greatest hater that cinema will ever know. He hated everything, and I think that was beautiful. Everything he ever said was hilarious, and his last movie, The K Mutiny Court Martial, was one of the best movies of last year. So, yeah.
All right, down to the top two for me. My number two is this easily could have been my number one, but the number one was just plain too influential for me. So, somebody mentioned earlier that I hate movies from the year I was born. This goes completely against that because I have to talk about 1987's Near Dark by Catherine Bigelow. Somebody that has gone on after her stint of action adventure, not adventure, I guess, but action films from the early 90s, leading into all kinds of military borderline propaganda films. Near Dark is one of the most fun horror movies that you could ever watch. The only thing I will say about this is the beginning is slightly meandering compared to the rest, but it still does great because it establishes our characters in exactly how we need to have them established. But then the moment that it gets going, this movie is off to the races, and it mixes a vampire story with the Western in the best possible way. There are so many scenes. The bar scene is incredible. So many of the scenes that are lit with fire in this are just great. The cast here, I mean, Bill Paxton and Lance Henriksen obviously steal the show because they're Bill fucking Paxton and Lance Henriksen. But I mean, the fact that she was able to essentially steal a cast from James Cameron is incredible here. Everybody, when they're on screen, every single character in this movie feels like they have been acting for the last 60 years and are masters of their craft. I don't know what it is about this movie, but like everybody you can tell desperately wants to be a part of this and desperately wants it to succeed. This movie is so underseen by a lot of people nowadays because it's sort of hard to get to, but because it is underseen, watching it feels more special. And if you have not seen it ever or in a long time, this is a must watch, and desperate to get that rumored Studio Canal 4K that they've been teasing since like 2020. What has been going around on Blu-ray for years for this movie looks fucking atrocious for the first like 18 minutes of the movie. You can't see hardly shit, and everything about this deserves a really nice HDR color grading. Again, rest in peace, Bill Paxton. So many of these people attached to these, we're going to be saying that forever now because a lot of our favorites are just nearing the end of their life. But he was gone far too soon, and he's been a part of so many of my favorite movies, and this has to be on the list.
Do you know, before you said that, I was about to say, like, one day we are going to have to, like, just as a in the cinematic culture have to have a conversation about Bill Paxton, because he does not get talked about enough. Like, he really does not. Bill Paxton's career is insane. And he's one of those guys that's like managed to get into just some of the best movies of all time here and there without ever being a major part, but always being a memorable part. Like, he's in Titanic, and he's in probably the least interesting part of Titanic, the modern day.
Yep.
And yet, every time I think about Titanic, I cannot fail to think about Bill Paxton. He just has so much like sincerity to that that like otherwise meaningless role. Anyone else in that role would have just been forgotten about. He has like a minor bit in Nightcrawler. And he's absolutely fantastic in Nightcrawler. He's great in Aliens, obviously. Twister, of course. And every time he shows up in a movie, I get happy, because I know there's just something for me there.
And he is always, I mean, there's something about him that makes you, I don't know, believe that he's been the character that you're seeing on screen his entire life. And that it's so odd because, like, Twister, like something about it, he feels like he's been this tornado chasing meteorologist forever. One false move. Like, I completely believe that he is the small town sheriff that was destined for this position. Everything about him in every single movie is just like, yeah, you were just kind of born to play this role, and it's not fair.
And you know, I did speak about it briefly earlier, but A Simple Plan.
Yeah.
You know, because again, like, as a movie, it is a very simple movie. Like, it not to like be hokey and make jokes, but it is just a simple movie. Like, it's just very straightforward. There's a few twists and turns, but for the most part, like, you are just following 3 or so characters. And Bill Paxton carries it on his back. I mean, Billy Bob Thornton does do incredible in that movie also, but Bill Paxton just has an everyman quality that also just feels so star-filled. So yeah, it's a great pick.
We are down to your number 2 then.
Okay, so this one may or may not count. I've been thinking about it, just because the director has done a bit more horror than anyone else that we've really mentioned, but I think out of everything that he's done, the horror is still on the lesser side. And that is Brian De Palma's Carrie. So
borderline,
Brian De Palma has done like a little bit, like Phantom Paradise and Raising Cain, Dressed to Kill, stuff like that. But me and Zach did have a conversation about this, but I think it came down to, when thinking about Brian De Palma movies, majorly people are thinking Scarface, Blowout, Mission Impossible, Carlitos Way, The Untouchables. I mean, depending on who you are, probably Snake Eyes. So I feel like it slides in there just nearly. And I needed to talk about Carrie, so that was my excuse. I adore Carrie. It's in my top 100. I love this movie. I recently got to see this in theaters for a re-release over Halloween. And it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. As a fan of the book, this isn't an incredible adaptation of the work, but I also think it's a perfect example of doing an adaptation, because it has the soul of the book. It has the soul of the story. It hits all the right beats, and it leaves out what's not necessarily necessary. And everything that's there is perfect. I love that this movie is nearly the most beautiful underdog story of all time, if it were not for the last 20 minutes. Like, I cry at this movie. I genuinely have tears in my eyes every single time she gets to the prom. You know, there's that one shot where they're just spinning for like 5 minutes and you get really dizzy just watching them.
Yep.
And it makes me so happy when she gets on the stage. It's all she's ever wanted. I cry because I know this is going to be the worst day of her life. And in the end, Carrie loses. Like, even in death, after, you know, all of her revenge, she's still seen as, you know, the girl that killed all these children. She's not seen as like the victim of the situation and all of this stuff, which obviously she isn't. She is to some extent, but you know, doesn't excuse massacring. But it's just heartbreaking. A truly brutal movie. And Mike Flanagan's doing a TV show adaptation of Carrie soon, so I hope that's good. I have faith.
Yeah.
I have some faith in Flanagan. I hope they do, because this is my only gripe with this movie, is that they don't cast a plus size girl to play Carrie, since that's like such a vital aspect in the novel of her character. You know, it's the whole reason they use pig's blood.
Right.
It's part of the reason why she gets bullied. But even still, I can't really complain because Sissy Spacek just. Oh, and sorry, the last 20 minutes, by the way, of this movie is some of the best directed horror ever. Just insane use of color, insane shots,
and split diopters, like you brought up
split
earlier.
diopters. This movie's full of them. They're everywhere, littered with split diopters. It's just, it's absolutely crazy. The variety of shots used in this, like, it's so crazy when the car flips at the end and like the whole like screen does the turn. It's just like, it's so insane that he just got to do this. And the look of Carrie when she's drenched in that blood, and Sissy Spacek has those piercing eyes, just like focusing on different things in the room with the musical cues. It's phenomenal filmmaking. It's a tight hour and a half. One of the best movies I've ever experienced.
Yeah, obviously Carrie is a masterpiece. I really love De Palma. I really love Carrie. I'll certainly allow it under our rules, primarily because, I mean, De Palma, not only do you not think of him necessarily for horror when you hear his name, he is, I mean, he is one of the only filmmakers that I would probably stand up for and say they have a masterpiece in literally every genre. The only one I can't really think of for him is sci-fi, which I don't think he has a sci-fi masterpiece. I know he did Mission to Mars, but that's probably the closest.
Yeah, let me have a look. I don't think so though. Because you are right. I can't think of a sci-fi movie he's done. Science fiction. Where are you? Yeah. Well, he's done a movie called Mission to Mars, and I guess. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. The Fury, I guess, also counts. Both are not very good though. So
right, and so maybe that's his one weakness. But the fact that you could literally make an argument that he has like a top 3 horror of all time, a top 3 gangster movie of all time, top action movie of all time, a top war movie of all time, a top drama. Like, the fact that he has all of these, and everybody would be like, yeah, I could see you making that argument. That is crazy. I mean, it's wild what he's been able to do over his career, and I hope, supposedly he might have one left in him. I hope that he ends on a high note if it's truly his last one. And shoot, make it a sci-fi so I can say that it's in everything.
Also, he does have a rom-com, by the way. It's because they've just said it is a collaborative piece, but it's called The Wedding Party. It has Robert De Niro in it. It's from like 68 or 69. It's not massively good either, but you know.
Oh, come on. Black Dahlia is amazing.
Yeah, Black Dahlia is good. Dahlia. What are you talking about?
My wife, like, that's one of her favorite movies of all time. All right. My number one. This is my number one, like I said earlier, because it is influential. This is This is the one I alluded to earlier in the night by saying it's one that I'd seen way too early and really got me into horror. And it is obviously an incredibly important movie. My mom, who is not in the chat tonight, she was here earlier though. This movie I watched with her. I don't remember how old I was, but we ended up watching the entire franchise together. And this first movie impressed me so damn much. I have to go with Richard Donner's The Omen. As somebody that used to be steeped heavily in religion and is not a part of religion, this movie still terrifies the fuck out of me because of how much it can change somebody's mind and create this cult status that somebody, can see a child and literally think, because of this child, I will do some of the most heinous things ever imaginable. The kills in this movie are fucking great. The priest outside getting impaled with the pole is still one of the most terrifying things that I've ever seen. Obviously, the nanny jumping through and killing herself is one of the most iconic scenes ever.
Yep.
This movie is so great. The kid acting is better than you expect for a movie like this. I freaking love The Omen, and it truly made me want to dive into horror.
Obviously this was one of my honorable mentions. I really like The Omen. I was gonna ask, did you see the first Omen from this year?
I have not yet. I don't know why not. I just have not given it time, but I really want to.
I will. I'll let you know. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
I was not on board. I didn't think a prequel to The Omen would work all that well, but it is truly one of the best of the year, especially one of the best horrors of the year. It's brilliant. And yeah, the original The Omen is just absolutely fantastic. The child acting, like you said, is brilliant. I think The Omen, in a way, feels like a Shyamalan film. Like, it feels very close to something like The Sixth Sense, and in a way, like, spiritually, that's how I feel when I'm watching it. I have that kind of same love for it. It makes a lot of choices that I don't think should work, like, too much on paper, but somehow they do. And I think Richard Donner really does use like Catholicism and religion and stuff like that super effectively.
Yeah.
In the same vein that William Friedkin does for The Exorcist. Like, it's a way of looking on religion without looking down on it, but like giving you a different perspective on how scary the concepts of such could be, like in reality. So yeah, I really enjoy The Omen.
But then also, you follow this up with frickin' Superman. Like, that is a hell of a 1-2 punch. I mean, he did Sarah T. Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic earlier in this decade. Inside Moves later. The Toy. Obviously, all the Lethal Weapons, Scrooge, Radio Flyer, Maverick, Goonies. So many of these I mean, even something like 16 Blocks I truly loved with Mos Def and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
It's crazy the career that he had, but truly this is like the only one that is even close to horror. Again, this is like a very standout pick for somebody like this. Absolutely love this. I think that it is one that holds up, and I really hope we do get a 4K of this soon.
Yeah. Also, to Richard Donner's credit, my dad absolutely loves Scrooged. So,
and I hate Scrooged.
I'm not a big fan either. It's fine.
All right, the final one.
So, I told you I didn't have Alien on my list. And I don't. I do, however, have Prometheus on my list. Prometheus is my number one. I adore Prometheus more than you could imagine a person loving a movie. When I first watched this movie, I did not like it. I wrote a whole review about how dog water this movie is. I despised it. And you can see, like, if you go on my letterbox, like, my gradual love for this film growing. Like, my first log for this film, I think, is like 2 stars. And that was like my second view of that film. And I had liked it a bit more that time, but it was still 2 stars. And then it crept up to 3 stars. And then it was like another 3 star. And then it was 4.5, 4.5. And then it was 5. And now I've seen this movie like 6 times this year.
Wow.
And it's 5-star every time. It is so good. It is conceptually one of Ridley Scott's most vast and cavernous ideas. I think he really, really wanted to do something that people were just not ready for, especially out of an Alien movie. I think he dives so much into like the creation of our people and what gods truly are to us and what gods can be and how disappointing that is. Michael Fassbender in this movie gives one of my favorite performances ever as David, that he continues on in Alien Covenant, which I also love. Numi Rapace, I think that's how you say her name, I've never said it out loud, is one of the most beautiful women to ever exist. Charlize Theron, same again. Idris Elba. Also, I would like to say this is also a Christmas movie. It is my favorite Christmas movie. And yet, from head to toe, the cast is ridiculous. Like, Guy Pearce is like 6th billing on this movie. Like, it's ridiculous. And yeah, I think the way it just weaves in and out of genres, you know, like it will go into classic sci-fi action for a bit, and then like the next scene will be the most intense horror thing that Ridley Scott's ever done, and then it will just slowly come back out and it'll be like kind of a romantic comedy for a moment and then straight back into the horror. And yeah, I think this movie just works. I think it's brilliant. I did talk about it in my Alien ranked video, and I probably said smart stuff there, but yeah, I love this movie so much. It's in my heart always.
Famously, I still have not seen Prometheus or Covenant, and I really need to.
You do. Like, oh, I love them so much. Like, it's one of those movies where I can't really talk about why I love it because I'm just so consumed by how much, like, I like it. I don't know what to say. So yeah, my video talking about the Alien franchise is probably my best writing on Prometheus. But yeah, I've tried to do a video specifically on Prometheus maybe about 4 times, and I get halfway through the scripts and just scrap it every time because I feel like I can never do it justice. You know, it's like trying to do a video on like Jurassic Park or something. It's like I'm just not going to be able to talk about this in a way that feels right, that feels like it's deserved. So yeah, that's my pick.
These are 2 very good lists, and honestly, a lot. I thought we were gonna have a much more crossover. I think we only had 3 that we crossed over.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic, especially because I don't know. There's something about, especially like the studio system that most of these directors that we've talked about have been not necessarily forced into, but like welcomed into. It is difficult to branch out sometimes to stuff like this, and to get somebody that is. I mean, not just established in a career be able to make a good horror film, but have somebody that's established and successful be allowed to go make a film like that it's kind of difficult in many of these times to see. Like, you know, some of these I could have easily seen like Jonathan Demme not being allowed to do Silence of the Lambs, and they say no, we got to go with somebody that's done horror that we can recognize. You know, Gore Verbinski doing The Ring. Obviously, that's probably a little bit more near his playtime period, but I could see them easily saying, no, we got to give this to a more well-known director for horror.
Yeah. Especially because it's a remake of what was then a very, you know, cult classic movie. Honestly, what's weird with Gore Verbinski, I think, is the opposite, though. I can't believe he made The Ring and then they let him make Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that's
Yeah.
such a bizarre jump. That's like Sam Raimi getting to do the Spider-Man films. It just like I don't understand how they saw him and then was like, yeah, that's the guy. But they were right. That was the guy.
And look how he changed it for
Yeah.
everyone. It's a very interesting topic to dive into and really force yourself to think of things in that different way. I love reading everybody else's choices. Great list from both of us tonight. Anything else you want to shout out?
Me for staying up. I didn't think I'd make it, but I'm here.
You did quite well. What time are we hitting over there now?
We are at 4:45.
Wow, at least you get to get off here and go watch the sunshine.
No, I'm gonna go and see my pillow.
Well, I hope you have a good day off work. Everybody else, it is Halloween. It's going to be a busy week. Don't forget, tomorrow, Air 4444. Tomorrow, Cauldron Films. Tomorrow, Vinegar Syndrome. Next Monday, Shout announcing their titles. There's a lot going on right now. Don't feel pressured into buying things because you're collecting one label. Every label has put out movies that you're probably not going to be too fond of. Make good choices. I don't know what else to say. I sound like a mother hen leading somebody out there, but I don't know. It's been a rough week. I feel like I've had a lot of people questioning what they're doing, and I don't want you to feel discouraged by a lot of this. You don't need to buy every title. You don't need to feel pressure to get to a sale on a certain time, whatever. Do what you need to do. If you want to have more conversations about it, join the Patreon at the link in the description below. We'd love to have you. Come hang out in the Discord. Go follow Crit. There's so much going on. I don't know.
On YouTube, not in real life, please.
But if you do, stay far back.
Yeah,
please. All right. We shall see you all next Thursday. Dr. Will be here as usual for the first of the month. Hope you have a good one. Stay safe, and we'll see you then. Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.